In the towering apartment building, the figure of a young teenager could be seen faintly through the window, sitting on a low sofa. In his hands was a photograph of another young man, his smile radiant like the sun. The teenager stared at the photo, his expression thoughtful, his brows slightly furrowed. He tiredly said, "The first message I got from him, after we reunited, was bad news. 3 years ago, my mother, who knew his condition well, spent the rest of her life searching for my missing younger brother. She fell ill for a time before passing on to a better place." The teenager at that time looked at the pile of thick papers filled with images of his brother. His hands touched the paper, and with a bit of force, the fragile sheet crumpled. He stepped out the door, turned back to look at the crumpled paper, then decisively shut the door and left. At that moment, the missing person poster lay on the ground. He had given up on the idea of searching for his younger brother, left Nation HQ, and voluntarily joined Nation CP, sitting in a plain seat in his military uniform, staring out the window with the thought that he would no longer have a reason to return to Nation HQ. He picked up the cardboard box, slowly opening it. Inside was a Roman clock and a photo of his younger brother in an Iron Soldier's uniform. When my brother was found, these were the things he kept. He lifted the photo, muttering. He was filming. The photo was put down, revealing an old watch. A watch, he wondered, staring at it. He picked it up to take a closer look. It was my gift. "I wish her good luck in the university entrance exam." He turned the watch over, and a small line of text slowly appeared along the edge. It was an inscription, etched very carefully, with many scratches beside it. "This is my gift. I wish her good luck in the university entrance exam." He drifted into a memory, where his younger brother was holding the watch, his face beaming with a bright smile. "Thank you, brother." He smiled and said to his younger brother, "This one's way cooler than a digital watch. Haha, what do you think? Pretty thoughtful, huh?" The two of them discussed the engraving on the back of the watch. He asked, his brother answered, and they were so happy. He suddenly jolted, asking, "What? Damn it, give it here." His younger brother innocently replied, "Why?" He responded, "I need to go tell the watchmaker. He needs to fix it right away." His younger brother squinted and smiled. "Come on, why bother? I'm going to wear it." Back in the present, he could only hold the old watch, a bitter smile on his lips. "From now on, if I need to write a name, I'll just write Sia." His large hand suddenly clenched the watch tightly. The old broken watch, which had been malfunctioning for so long, suddenly started ticking again. He stared wide-eyed as the hands began to move, surprised. "Ha! Wasn't it broken?" A voice echoed, reaching him, the one who would continue the journey. He suddenly felt as if something stirred, and that voice rang out again. "When you hold this, I may have already disappeared from the world." He gasped, opening the back of the watch to check. This isn't an illusion, but there's nothing inside the watch. That voice still lingered, as if someone was standing there speaking. Yet it felt ethereal, like nothingness. "I'm sorry, you must have gone through a lot because of me. I just wanted to find a way to cure my mother's illness. I thought I would return home soon, but I got swept away." His eyes widened instinctively when he heard the last sentence. The voice continued. "On October 9, 2013, I received a strange message. The content was too bizarre to be spam. It didn't mention anything other than whether I wanted to participate or not. Usually I would ignore it, but the image of my sick mother lying in bed kept appearing in my mind. I told myself to just join in, hoping that it might be real. On October 12, 2013, this wasn't a dream. I was sure it was real. I was certain goblins and dwarves existed. It was the world of Orsi and dragons. In the center stood the sun god's tower. There was a rumor that if you could overcome the obelisk, you'd become a god. However, I was only interested in the medicine that could cure all diseases in the tower, called the elixir. On October 28, 2013, I formed a group of like-minded individuals to begin climbing the waterfall. However, compared to the real world, this was no joke. On November 9, 2013, I decided to leave home. I only had to struggle for half a year. That way, I severed all contact with the real world. On December 1, 2013, our group was named Artia. Artia always leads in every aspect. On May 7, 2014, the progress of our conquest was slower than expected, and it might take a few more years. On November 11, 2014, conflicts with the higher-level guilds erupted, hindering the progress of our conquest. On February 31, 2015, we couldn't reach a consensus, and war was about to break out. On July 2, 2015, the Guild alliance opposing us collapsed. On March 4, 2016, I fell in love with someone. You seem to be submerged in the images of your younger brother, running through one after another, but it still hasn't ended. On September 19, 2016, a resistance movement broke out. On January 2, 2017, the war continued, and everyone was exhausted. On July 6, 2017, a traitor appeared, causing discord within the guild. People began to distrust each other. On July 1, 2017, my body grew weaker, and I had been poisoned. On October 30, 2017, half of the members left the guild. We kept losing battles, and my body grew weaker. On November 1, 2017, the person I loved stabbed my heart, and then left. My body began to rot. On December 30, 2017, I missed you. On February 1, 2018, I was the only one left in Artia. How did everything turn out like this? On February 28, 2018, I had obtained the elixir, but I couldn't send it home because the enemies surrounded me. It was then that I realized there was only one person I could trust, but I couldn't show my weaknesses to them. That is why I left this message. I know that if you hear this, you will take the elixir and bring it back to Mother. But as the words finished, the hand that was holding the watch subconsciously tightened. What my younger brother said seemed like a fast-forwarded diary. I sat on the chair, looking at the hundreds of clocks. Beside me was the portrait of my younger brother. I turned the knob at the top of the clock, and the hand started to move again. The voice continued, following the rhythm of the turning hands. To you, the one who will continue this journey. If my brother hopes that someday you will hear these words. I still sat there, drained, surrounded by the pitch-black night. Suddenly, I lifted my head. A mechanical voice, pre-programmed, echoed, confirming the inheritance of the power. In my heart, a small flicker of light glimmered, as if trying to break free. Both my arms and legs clearly showed the veins. I could not speak, only think about the energy. This is the power of my younger brother and those from other worlds who possess it. The blood vessels ran up his neck and then to his face. He grimaced, trying to suppress the pain coursing through him. The image of his younger brother with that broad smile, and his voice appeared once more. To my older brother, the one who will read this message. In an instant, the seed shifted. His brother was kneeling on the ground, covered in blood-stained armor, tears of utter despair streaming down his face. The delicate features and spring-like smile were gone, replaced by streams of blood covering his face. July 6, 2017. A traitor appeared, sowing discord within the gang. Suspicion began to grow among the members. May 1, 2017. His health had been gradually deteriorating. He had been poisoned. October 30, 2017. Half of the members left the gang. They kept losing battles, and his body weakened further. November 1, 2017. The one he loved stabbed him in the heart and left. His body began to rot. December 30, 2017. He missed his brother. On January 1, 2018, only he was left in Artia. How did everything end up like this? The mechanical voice rang out. Awakening complete. Inheritance process failed. Please complete the inheritance after your body is fully restored. Progress, 5%. Your current condition is incomplete. The mechanical voice sounded again. Awakening complete. Inheritance process failed. Please complete the inheritance after your body is fully restored. Progress, 5%. Your current condition is incomplete. A blue screen appeared next to him. It notified him that he had leveled up, his potential had been discovered, and skills had been automatically added. You can only register your account at Obelisk. He tightly gripped his younger brother's watch in his hand, silently understanding. Now, he finally understood exactly what had happened to his brother. Why had he disappeared for 5 years and left this message for him? If all of this was true, by entering that world, I will get revenge on all of you. His face was filled with rage, veins bulging on his face, and his eyes flickered with a hint of bloodshot. Xiaohuan Wu stared at the status window, deep in thought, and wondered, is this the status window? This looks pretty much like a game. After awakening, my body will be perfected, but I still feel like something is missing. The wisdom trait, the ability to always practice in any situation. You will be immune to mind control or brainwashing. An image of an intelligent brain appeared. Xiaohuan Wu thought to himself, Not bad at all. Dragon visual prowess has the ability to detect the truth. You can preview your enemy's actions. A dragon with its mouth wide open appeared. Jung Woo had said he encountered a dragon named Calatus and made a contract with it on the 11th floor. These were its remnants. Enhanced senses. Your senses are greatly increased. Next came the arms, legs, eyes, nose, and mouth, which appeared one after another. I thought the senses had been upgraded, and they were working very well. He cast his eyes toward the status window. But the last one was the most notable, his ability to see through objects. Cha Huen-woo held the pendulum clock in his hand. All of this is because of you, right? He was determined to grip the pendulum clock tightly. All right, let's begin the journey. The photo of Cha Jung-woo appeared in a very blurry state. He only wanted to find the elixir and disappear quickly, but he wasn't sure if he could manage that. A sharp voice came from the phone of Cha Huen-woo. Sergeant Cha. What are you talking about? Don't you want to have dinner together? Cha Huen-woo ignored the voice in the phone. What's the matter? Are you busy? It's Kane. What should we do if he comes back? He apologized and hung up abruptly. I'm sorry. His next action was to throw the phone into the trash can. For that reason, I had given up my current job. I sold my house, burned my military uniform. He had prepared very carefully for this journey. I had bought a backpack with clothes, some food, a few knives, and a personal first aid kit. Cha Huen-woo pulled his cap down low to cover his face. I wanted to get a gun and some explosives. But if I bought more, the police would start asking questions, making everything more difficult. Cha Huen-woo continued walking through the park. It seemed like a week had passed. The leaves rustled in the wind and fell to the ground. Players who started late would have an advantage. How late could they be in order to have a fair test round? If they could surpass other players, they could accumulate points and also gain hidden fragments that players could utilize. Cha Huen-woo took out his pocket watch, adjusted the time a little. It should appear now. A powerful energy began to manifest in the sky. It grew stronger, swirling right in front of Cha Huen-woo. A few seconds later, a door appeared there, and the black energy slowly dissipated. The door opened. I swear, I'll make you bastards know what revenge is when you dare touch my little brother. His face darkened. From now on, Cha Huen-woo gradually faded behind the door. I will be Cha Jung-woo. The system notification appeared. You have entered the void where the test will take place. Blinded by the bright light, Cha Huen-woo raised his hand to shield his face and slowly opened his eyes. I've really arrived. Cha Huen-woo stood from afar, gazing at the dimly lit dungeon ahead. Much like the place he had seen in his memories, the tower is a test here. Players will have the chance to become a god. The image of countless players along with the tower appears. To climb the tower, players must prove that they have enough capability. This is where there will be a guide. He remembers the bloody image of his younger brother, Cha Jung-woo. But in this place, there are people who harmed Jung-woo. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. Cha Huen-woo's gaze grew dark. He placed his backpack on the ground and began rummaging through his belongings. I think I should aim for a high score and perform well in the test first, with a high enough score to take the top spot. Cha Huen-woo pulled out a mask and put it on his face, and gather more hidden shards. I need to collect as many valuable things as possible to become stronger. Before the battle begins, I need more courage and strength. Suddenly, a voice from the ceiling light echoed above him. Oh hyo, we have a guest. I thought I wouldn't meet you. Cha Huen-woo startled and looked up, a foot touching the ground. Cha Huen-woo quickly grasped the weapon in his hand. Ibulkura greeted him. It's no big deal to my heart, but if you do that, I'll get hurt. Can we put the knife down and talk instead, my brother? He chuckled. I'm very pleased to meet you. I am the ruler of the sky floor and also the guide Ibulkura. This is a fated meeting. You should clap to congratulate me. Ibulkura asked. Do you believe what I say? Cha Huen-woo nodded. Advice from a guide can be ignored, but it's best to remember it. Ibulkura spoke very kindly to him. It seems like you know who I am, huh? I thought you were a shy person because you're wearing a mask. You must be quite similar to someone I met before, so we should be able to talk fairly easily. The ranking board appeared. The test was organized into different levels from A to G. Each level had its own environment and different tests, with the goal being that within a certain period of time, your score would be determined by how well you completed the floors. He chuckled, pleased to meet him. I am the overseer of the 0th floor, and also the guide for Ibolkara. This is a fateful encounter. You should clap to celebrate, shouldn't you? He continued asking, how much time do I have? Ibolkara answered, you will have 1 month, but it's entirely up to you. However, Ibolkara pointed with a handful of sharp claws to a certain spot. We started last week, so what will you do, and how will you begin in the next round? He thought to himself, the leading group has probably gone as far as possible, so far that no one can catch up with them. I look forward to this. Before Cha Huan-woo could respond, Ibolkara spoke again. If you want to complete the test, it's best to form a group of 3 to 5 people. His gaze flickered slightly. But if it were just you alone, you would score higher, wouldn't you? Ibolkara smiled, revealing his teeth. The tower is where the player's tasks are managed. If your contribution is high, your score will be higher, so you don't need to worry. He returned to his original polite demeanor. Normally, players will either do one of 2 things. They will be overly confident in their abilities and die due to carelessness. Cha Huan-woo bent down to close his backpack and replied, I understand. Ibolkara thought for a moment. Or they become useless within the group. He snapped his fingers lightly. If you want, I can start right away. The test on the 0 floor would begin. The content. The players. Those who wish to conquer the tower. Ibolkara bowed respectfully. You must prove yourself worthy. The goal is to achieve a high score within the given time limit. You have 549 hours, 37 minutes, and 88 seconds left. Cha Huan-woo began to move inside. His steps were about to cross a white line, but he stepped over it. You have chosen level A to solve or break all the traps. Suddenly, a flash of light streaked past Cha Huan-woo. He quickly dodged it. The memory warned me about this kind of trap. The location and method of activating these traps weren't mentioned, so the warning wasn't much help. The arrows flew straight toward the backpack that Father Huan-woo held in front of him. He steadfastly gripped the straps of the backpack. The arrows pierced through and struck. Father Huan-woo fearfully cried out, I almost died. Father Huan-woo hugged the backpack full of arrows and leaned against the wall. Perhaps he should lean against the wall and minimize bodily contact as much as possible. But he hadn't expected another arrow to be shot and hit him in the leg. Father Huan-woo flinched, his eyes widening. Then more arrows were launched toward him. He couldn't dodge them all, and was inadvertently wounded in the arm. Father Huan-woo gripped his blood-soaked arm and staggered forward, a sharp pain invading his body. He was affected by the stun effect. Exhausted, he leaned against the wall, while the system notification continued to pop up. The cold-blooded trait has helped you maintain composure. The stun effect has been removed. Your pain resistance has been increased. He gasped for breath, struggling. I know it's dangerous, but I didn't think it would be this bad. If things keep going like this, I might just lose it. He grabbed an arrow and tried to pull it out. Immediately, he yanked the arrow with all his might. Father Huan-woo took out a lighter and burned his own skin. Smoke began to rise. His wound was bleeding heavily, and his body was burning. The cold-blooded trait has helped you maintain composure. The stun effect has been removed. You have developed the ability to resist bleeding. Cha Huan-woo continued his journey. He recalled the trap from earlier. When the arrow shot towards me, it was probably already set up, and there was even a signal. Faint as it was, enough for me to realize I needed to time my movements perfectly. Cha Huan-woo thought to himself, just finding a few arrows with the naked eye is tough enough. In this darkness, I have to pay attention to the gears when they shift, a perfect moment to spot the placement of the arrows and their trajectory. The image of the gears appeared, and in that brief moment, he had to hear exactly the sound they made. He closed his eyes and began to use his technique. Heightened senses. A thin layer of green energy enveloped Cha Huan-woo's body. The heightened senses skill had been activated, enhancing his hearing. The heightened senses skill was increased by 0.8%. The gears turned faster and faster. Cha Huan-woo looked up. I found it. Then a sword fell from above, aimed directly at Cha Huan-woo. He quickly dodged, causing the sword to strike the wall. Following that, a series of arrows were shot down, but none of them hit him. Cha Huan-woo hid behind his mask and looked up. Behind the mask, Cha Huan-woo smiled slightly. Classy. He gripped the dagger firmly in his hand and successfully avoided the barrage of arrows, depending on how he handled them. The difference in his state had increased, dodging the green arrows to gain speed. Cha Huan-woo skillfully dodged all the subsequent arrows. His dexterity had increased by 1 point. When an arrow was shot towards him, he raised his knife to block it in front of his chest. His strength had increased by 1 point. Cha Huan-woo extended his hand, letting the arrow strike directly into his arm. He showed no sign of pain. He removed the arrow and continued walking. Being hit by a golden arrow increases endurance. Your endurance has increased by 1 point. A status window appeared. Asterisk if I can accumulate more, it will be easier to succeed in this kind of task. I wonder if I should keep farming levels like this asterisk. Player Cha Huan-woo. Attributes: cold-blooded, strength 19, agility 19, endurance 14, MP 21, dragon visual prowess 0%, heightened senses 4.3%, long-range vision 0%. Suddenly, drops of blood began to drip from Cha Huan-woo's face. He wiped the wound with his hand and said, "The only thing that bothers me is not being able to increase my MP. Even so, I still have the chance to easily improve the stats I want." From the observation screen, a familiar voice echoed, "Oh hail Hugh Hugh." Bolker stood watching all the players. Things are getting more and more interesting. I never thought I'd see someone like this before. Strange, the people in Group A still draw my attention more than those in Group E. He looked at Cha Huan-woo and said, "This guy has potential." Bolker continued to focus on observing him. Even if he has the ability, he'll still have to struggle with all those dangers. But if he's clever enough to outsmart the others. Bolker twirled the glasses on his face to observe the other players. It seemed like there were still many entertaining scenes ahead, even in this tutorial phase. Oh Hyo Hyo. At this moment, on Cha Huan-woo's side, the status window notified that he had reached the final point, and the information had changed slightly. Player Cha Huan-woo. Attributes: cold-blooded, strength 29, agility 33, endurance 30, MP 21, dragon visual prowess 0%, heightened senses 8.3%, long-range vision 0%. Cha Huan-woo adjusted the status window, and except for his MP, the other stats had increased significantly. Achieving this in one day wasn't too bad. He was a bit surprised. It seems like it's not just that. Cha Huan-woo, pleased, made up his mind. Strength, speed, endurance, and destruction ability have all increased quite a bit. He gently pushed the door. Suddenly, beams of light emanated from the door. The process of healing his wounds would begin right now. He stared in amazement at the light enveloping him. His injuries slowly began to heal. Cha Huan-woo thought to himself, "A healing place for players?" Cha Huan-woo felt at ease. "Finally, I've found a place to rest." He bent down and lay down, and after a while, he slowly opened his eyes. A vague figure of a man appeared before him, flickering in and out of focus. Did I fall asleep? When his vision cleared, the man was still standing in front of him. He raised his hand in greeting. "Hello." Cha Huan-woo sprang up, instinctively retreating in fear. Looking at the stranger who was laughing loudly, he thought to himself, "Who is this guy? My heightened senses should still be active. So why can't I sense his presence?" Cha Huan-woo speculated. Could it be? Then he spoke to the man. "Are you a merchant?" The man, whose face was completely covered, replied lightly, "Do you know who I am?" "I like you, my brother, my customer. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is A, just a merchant passing by. Sometimes, traders appear at the end of the path and provide players with what they need, of course, not for free." He snapped his fingers, and various items appeared. Ordinary things like food and drink, healing items, skill books, and even valuable artifacts. A board materialized, displaying detailed information for each item. The merchant introduced, "Now that you've come this far, do you need anything, sir? I am a seller of all things that exist in this world. If you need something, just let me know." Cha Huan-woo was casually browsing through the information board while thinking. Among the items listed were Medusa's poison, followed by the golden goat's horn. A blue eye appeared on the board. Tiamat's left eye, all rare treasures in the world. But then he thought, how could he possibly have enough money to buy things like these? He silently thought to himself, I'm not even skilled enough to use these. I should just focus on the essentials for now. It seemed like Cha Huan-woo had found what he was looking for. Found it. It turned out that what Cha Huan-woo wanted was a ticket. Return ticket. A return ticket? It allows you to return to any place you desire. Cha Huan-woo asked, how can I pay for these items? The merchant responded with status points. "Sir, just pay the required amount." He added, "We have a conscience, and we only sell at a very reasonable price." After hearing this and glancing at the prices, Xiaohong Wu couldn't help but laugh. A bottle of mineral water for 2 strength points. Were these people's consciences gnawed on by dogs? Xiaohong Wu spoke to the merchant. "I have something to trade." The merchant smiled flatteringly. "Yes, we'll honor you, sir." Xiaohong Wu began. "With all the status points I've accumulated from level A." He crossed his arms, speaking slowly and seriously, "in exchange for a ticket that can reset level A." The merchant pointed at the item table. "So you want to buy the return ticket?" Xiaohong Wu nodded yes. He felt something was a bit odd about him. "Yes, I do have that item, but I've never seen anyone show any interest in it. Normally, after surviving through level A, players would ask for items that could make the next level easier for them, not something that would make them go through level A again." Xiaohong Wu replied, "I still have some important things to take care of, so I need to go back there." The merchant chuckled lightly. If you say so. In his mind, he thought this man was quite interesting. Then he began to explain how to use it to Xiaohong Wu. The method of use is very simple. Tier the ticket at any point you want, and you'll be transported back to your starting position. After saying this, the merchant bid Xiaohong Wu farewell and left. "I have to go now. I hope we'll meet again." Once the merchant was completely out of sight, all of your stats in level A have been lost. He looked at his hands. "I can feel my strength fading away." System notification. You have successfully purchased 10 return tickets. A ticket slowly fell into his hand. Xiaohong Wu didn't hesitate, slowly tearing the ticket in half. The ticket emitted a blinding light. The light shone directly into Xiaohong Wu's face. This is the null level, the starting point of the game. Once the light faded, Xiaohong Wu had returned to his starting point, a dark and gloomy null level. This is the tutorial level, and it will begin now. He quickly drew his knife. "Now I need to increase my stats, as much as possible." A series of arrows began to shoot directly at him. Xiaohong Wu skillfully dodged them. His gaze shifted to the distance as he silently thought, "This is the end point of layer A. I need to fine-tune my senses through the repetitions in this layer." The attribute points seem to have increased quite a bit. Suddenly, Xiaohong Wu remembered a skill from before. Dragon Visual Prowess, a skill that allows the player to borrow the eyes of the ancient dragon Kalatus. At a certain level, it helps see the truth. When I activated it for the first time, I was shocked by what I saw before me. Instead of the usual dull and gloomy colors, the view in Dragon Visual Prowess was entirely different. In the vision granted by Dragon Visual Prowess, everything lost its color. The world appeared as nothing but black lines on a white background. It looked like a sketch on a white canvas. The image of the human body appeared, and the eyes could see through the outer layers, revealing everything inside, even the person themselves. Is this the Gaia phenomenon my younger brother mentioned? The door behind Xiaohong Wu closed. You have reached the endpoint. Xiaohong Wu opened the status window. Has it really been 4 hours? This is an incredible progress, considering that I spent over 34 hours on my first attempt. He looked at the status window. My stats have increased quite a bit. Now I can confidently face most players. However, it's still hard to keep up with those who have been ahead of me. The player, Xiaohong Wu, with cold-blooded traits, Strength 51, Agility 56, Endurance 55, MP 21, Dragon Visual Prowess 2.1%, Heightened Senses 15.1%, and Long-Range Vision 0.0. Xiaohong Wu thought to himself, if I had started with those who went ahead, I would already be in Section E by now. If I stay here in Section like this, I will never catch up with them. I need to speed up to secure a higher rank. He pushed the door open and entered a strange room. You have entered the boss's room. Xiaohong Wu, walking forward, thought, I need to clear level A and move on to level B immediately. Right after, he rushed forward with an astonishing speed. Rockets shot towards Xiaohong Wu all at once. He quickly responded in kind. Xiaohong Wu was trying to fight them off. The speed is faster than I initially expected. System notification. Strength increased by 1 point. He continued to fend them off. I can't afford to slow down here. Suddenly, a new path opened beneath his feet. Xiaohong Wu widened his eyes in surprise. Then, once the path was fully revealed, he didn't hesitate and jumped straight down. Beneath him were countless sharp stakes waiting to impale him. If I fall, I'll die immediately. Cha Hongwu spun around. I can't die here. He was drifting, as if he was about to fall straight down. With his skilled techniques, Cha Hongwu easily made it to the other side without hitting any stakes, quickly gained 1 point. Cha Hongwu looked up. A large fire was burning brightly, illuminating the area where he stood. He firmly gripped the knife in his hand and moved forward. Cha Hongwu swung his knife in a powerful arc. The flames parted to the sides. Cha Hongwu walked through the path that had been cleared in the middle. Thanks to your cold-blooded trait, you have the ability to resist burns. The heightened senses skill has increased by 15.6%. As Cha Hongwu was running, something suddenly lunged toward him. He dodged its attack. Agility had been increased by 1 point. Endurance had been increased by 1 point. The heightened senses skill had increased by 16.9%. Your stats have leveled up, your strength has increased. Suddenly, something punched Cha Hongwu straight in the stomach. He hugged his belly and jumped back. His eyes widened as he recognized. This item. This is... He thought to himself. This scarecrow feels like it's mimicking the player. My little brother made a reference guide specifically for this scarecrow, Copper Scarecrow. A scarecrow that imitates the movements and actions of the player. It also has the ability to attack within a certain range. Cha Hongwu began to recall the information about this type of scarecrow. The real boss of Part A isn't just the regular scarecrows, but also the 10 copper scarecrows behind them. They mimic the player's actions and track their movements. Their bodies are as powerful as a hellstorm. That's why they've been hindering us for so long. There are 2 ways to get past them. One is to fight head-on, and the other is... Cha Hongwu was already in position, ready to subdue them. He activated Dragon Visual Prowess. Cha Hongwu's vision through the dragon's eyes turned colorless. He could see through the body of the scarecrow. That's its weak point. Cha Hongwu rushed forward, intending to stab the weak point with his knife. A foreign voice shouted, "This copper scarecrow operates based on a sensor. You need to find and destroy the sensor." Cha Hongwu suddenly stopped. Perhaps this was the person he had seen earlier when his senses were heightened. He took a small step back. I already know these scarecrows move based on their sensor. With that thought, Cha Hongwu punched the copper scarecrow's sensor from behind. He succeeded in destroying it, and with the loss of its sensor, the copper scarecrow exploded. Yule, who had been hiding this whole time, asked in surprise, "What was that?" He silently looked at Cha Hongwu, then muttered to himself, "Did you just hack the game?" Yule still stood behind, observing. Cha Hongwu noticed someone was watching him, and he slowly turned his head. Upon seeing this, Yule immediately flinched and trembled. Cha Hongwu walked toward him. I could tell that the copper scarecrow operates through its sensor if I use my enhanced senses. But this is a regular person. How could you possibly figure out how it works? Cha Hongwu's towering figure blocked Yule's path. How do you know? Yule, trembling, asked. What are you going to do to me? In his mind, he thought. Such terrifying power. Cha Hongwu spoke again. What am I going to do with you? Yule stammered in reply. You're coming toward me. Are you going to kill me? Cha Hongwu reassured him. Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you. How could you know that? Yule questioned. Know what? Cha Hongwu explained clearly. The truth is, the copper scarecrow operates through a sensor. I'm asking how you know this. Yule nodded. What? It's because. After hesitating for a moment, he continued. I can read the mana flow inside the copper scarecrow when it's active. Cha Hongwu thought to himself. Just as I suspected, the kid can see magic, which means he has a very strong connection to it, even to the mana levels of those who control magic. Cha Hongwu continued asking, how can you see and control magic? Can you tell me? If I could learn it, it would be extremely useful for managing mana. Yule was surprised by Cha Hongwu's question. What? He responded. Of course, I won't ask you to tell me for free. He looked at the distant road ahead. I can see you've been stuck here for quite some time. So, I'll help you get out. How about it? That doesn't sound so bad for you, does it? Yule opened his mouth in astonishment, his eyes wide as he stared at Cha Hongwu in front of him. He turned to walk away. It seems like you don't want to. Yule hurriedly stopped him. Wait a minute. Yule was taken aback by one surprise after another. About what you said, is it true? You really don't know how to handle magic? No way are you saying you did that without magic. Cha Wu replied honestly. What reason would I have to lie? Yule pointed to the shattered copper scarecrow that Cha Wu had destroyed into pieces. This can't be. You clearly defeated all these scarecrows. Cha Wu looked at the copper scarecrows. A monster that I struggled so hard to defeat with my teammates. Yet never budged an inch, even after hundreds of skills and attacks. That's the copper scarecrow, surviving through everything without a scratch. In Cha Wu's mind, there were many questions. How could a few simple strikes have destroyed the copper scarecrow? And now you're saying you don't know how to handle magic. Yule agreed. All right, I'll teach you. He pointed to his chest and introduced himself. I'm Yule. You want me to help you learn how to handle magic, right? He turned his face away. All right, Yule, I'll go ahead and lead the way, so you should follow behind me. If you fall behind, I won't hesitate to leave you there. Yule fumbled along behind. Got it. Suddenly, Cha Wu turned his head back. And one more thing. Yule froze. He used his dragon visual prowess, which was shining brightly, to speak to Yule. Use honorifics when speaking to me. I won't disappoint you, just because you're a child. With his dragon visual prowess, Cha Wu could see the innermost parts of Yule. I can clearly see that you're probably only 10 years old, but you're likely not an ordinary person. Cha Wu admonished him. You'd better listen to what I say, understand? Yule hesitated, then slowly answered, Yes, sir. Cha Wu passed through a large ring of flames. Next, another copper scarecrow was destroyed. Cha Wu held the knife and charged straight at it, stabbing into its weak core. Seeing him brushing off the dust from his hands, Yule ran after him, still puzzled. At this point, Cha Wu spoke. We're almost at floor B. Can you show me the way now? Yule was startled when called. Yes. Yule, walking behind Cha Wu, spoke up. I don't know about you, but since I was born, I've been able to see mana. Cha Wu, walking ahead, asked. What? Yule continued. Is this something related to my bloodline? Yule hesitated before answering. Something like that. Such cases are very rare on Earth, but are often found in other worlds. Some individuals possess unique talents or even supernatural powers tied to genetics. These people usually have an exceptional ancestor, and their abilities are passed down through generations. A lineage of spiritual energy flows down, and then the descendants awaken their abilities throughout their lives, standing out and continuing to pass on their powers for their descendants. My case is probably similar. Yule shared his story. The ability I've inherited is something along the lines of an affinity for mana, which allows me to see, feel, and taste mana. That's how I discovered that those doppelgangers have sensors attached to them. Upon hearing this, Cha Wu thought, isn't this similar to his younger brother? Regarding Cha Wu, his younger brother, Cha Wu explained, My younger brother's trait is psychology. He can communicate with anything, which also means he can communicate with mana. The image of the young Cha Wu appeared, his strange aura radiating. Unlike others from Earth who struggled with mana, his younger brother had no genetic ability to sense it. Instead, he could handle mana smoothly, as if he were reclaiming something he had lost. The ancient dragon Kalatus reappeared in its familiar form. The reason why the younger brother was chosen by the ancient dragon Kalatus was because of this particular trait of his. He could communicate with everything. He inherited the abilities of the dragon clan, abilities that ordinary humans could not grasp. Technically, both of them could be classified as geniuses, but I was not. You'll use the image of a river as an example. You can think of mana as a river, with magic being the water drawn from the river and stored in a reservoir. Cha Wu pondered. A reservoir? System notification. You have successfully cleared level A as a solo player. You have achieved a feat that is not easily attained. Additional karma will be granted. You have earned 500 karma. Cha Wu looked at the status window, which kept showing new notifications. You have gained 300 karma. Your physical condition and mana have been restored. You now have 800 karma. He felt a bit relieved. It's a good thing Yule and I aren't recognized as a team. In the tower, the concept of karma was very important. Karma was a point system based on the player's achievements. The tower and its guardians provided rewards based on karma, and it was also used as currency between players. allowing them to trade items with each other. He walked up to the door and tried to find a way to open it. Basically, this was something every player had to strive to gather as much as possible within the tower. But I, who had just cleared the A section of the tutorial floor, had already accumulated this much karma. Others would be shocked if they knew. The door slowly began to open, but it was still not enough. I need to accumulate more. The more, the better. You have reached level B. Cha Huin-woo stood high above. Looking down, all he could see was a sea of people. Among them, some young men were sitting, gazing at the stars and swords, while others, injured, lay scattered on the ground. As Cha Huin-woo stepped in, everyone became curious and began whispering among themselves. Who is that person? What's with his mask? He just passed level A, right? What? At a time like this? Seeing Yule standing in a corner, hesitating to enter, Cha Huin-woo asked, "What are you doing, kid? Aren't you coming in?" Yule's whole body trembled, and he finally managed to escape. He looked at his two hands. He had finally gotten out of it. Suddenly, he looked up, only to find everyone staring at him with astonished eyes. They were silent, unsure of what to say to him. Seeing this, Yule gritted his teeth in anger, his sharp gaze sweeping over the crowd. Cha Huin-woo noticed the tension in the air and asked, "Are those people your teammates?" Yule replied angrily, "Yes, they left me behind in the boss room." Ignoring the group, Yule walked straight toward Cha Huin-woo. "I'll tell you about it." Cha Huin-woo calmly responded, "Do you want to tell me about the mana flow, or something else?" The two of them sat on a step. Knowing the objective difference between the two things meant that Cha Huin-woo's crying was a sign of his potential to grow stronger. Thanks to Yule, Cha Huin-woo could understand the basics of magic and mana, but as things started to form in his mind, it allowed him to absorb, to some extent, what his younger brother had written in his diary. Yule began to speak. Before Yule could continue, Cha Huin-woo asked, "I can understand what mana is on a basic level now, but if I can't use it, then it's completely useless. What I mean is, how do I make it easier to use mana, or something like that?" Yule shyly scratched his head. "I don't know how to use it, but it feels really refreshing. I guess I've actually known how to handle it from the start, so it's hard to explain exactly how to do it." Cha Huin-woo responded, "I see, so that's how it is." Cha Huin-woo slowly stood up. "Well then, I'll keep moving forward. You wait until the tutorial phase ends, and then come back, right?" Yule looked up at him. "What? Ah, yes, I'm saying goodbye to him. We'll part ways here," Cha Huin-woo said as he waved goodbye to Yule. As Cha Huin-woo left, the group of people approached Yule. Their voices startled Cha Huin-woo. Yule stood in the shadows and said to the group, "I really like your gazes. People like you will definitely achieve great things." He introduced himself. "I am Boone, known as Orangdan. We are in the waiting room on the next floor. If you want to join, come with us." Kan was intrigued by Boone's words and stepped forward to ask the guy, "Does this mean we'll be joining the Orangdan Guild?" The guy replied, "If it's indeed Orangdan, it was established to stop the chaos on the tutorial floor." In the dark basement, facing the copper scarecrows, both Boone and Kan felt terrified. "If we move, these scarecrows will attack." He tightly gripped his sword and thought to himself, "If this keeps up, I'm going to be in trouble. How am I going to get out of here?" His eyes darted around, looking for an escape. Seeing Yule holding a sword beside him, he was taken aback. He watched Yule, who was carefully observing the scarecrows. Yule's ability was to analyze the flow of magic and mana. That kid's not going to be of much help. Maybe I should just leave him here. In this case, it might be the best decision. Kan grabbed Yule by the collar and lifted him up. Yule suddenly spoke, "Huh? What are you doing?" Immediately after, Kan and the others threw Yule into the scarecrow horde to distract them, then hurriedly whispered to each other. Now, Yule, in fear, reached out his hand toward them. "All of you." He looked at the group running away, leaving him behind, with anguish. "Why are you doing this to me?" Thinking back to the situation, Yule angrily thought, "At first, I thought you were good people." He gritted his teeth. "What's going on? Do we still have something to talk about?" Kan and his friend looked at Yule with apologetic faces. "What now, kid?" Yule crossed his arms and spoke bluntly to them. "I don't need to tell you how I got out of there, do I?" He continued, "I don't know what you plan to say, but please, just leave. I don't even want to see you. Just looking at you makes me sick." So let's pretend we don't know each other until the orientation time is over. I don't have the strength to do anything to you, do I? The group, after being scolded by Yule like this, all looked so uncomfortable that their heads felt ready to explode. Yule then asked, "So how the hell are you all here waiting for me?" Suddenly, he bent down, sincerely apologizing to Yule. In every possible way, we want to apologize for what happened before. Yule, startled, took a few steps back. What nonsense was he saying? These were empty words. He still didn't look up. What happened back then? Do you hope the kid will keep it a secret? Before Yule could respond, he went on with a long explanation. We sincerely apologize. We can't tell you the details, but please don't talk about what happened between us to anyone else. We beg you, kid, we haven't finished. Please forgive us this time. The people behind also simultaneously bowed and apologized. Yule, please, for the sake of our friendship, think about everything we've been through. Yule felt that these people were truly making a fool of themselves. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but just get lost. I don't want to see your faces anymore. With that, Yule didn't care about them anymore, and turned to leave. He frowned and thought to himself, this can't go on like this. If I let everything play out like this, the opportunity could disappear into thin air. He gritted his teeth in anger. If it were me, I'd hire little Yule here. Boone, after all, didn't know the kid's face. With that thought, he nodded to his friend beside him. Then, Can and the others stared at Yule with dark expressions. Sorry, kid, but I think you're going to die here. Watching Yule's retreating figure, Can continued to plot in his mind. The area was currently sparsely populated, and no one was really paying attention to it. So if he killed him, no one would know. He gripped the sword at his waist tightly. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to get in. Orangdan decided to cover it up by saying the kid died in the boss room. Khan prepared to unsheath his sword. Suddenly, the voice of Cha Huan-Wu rang out. It turned out he had been standing behind him for quite some time. People said there was a guild in the direct guidance floor belonging to a faction called Orangdan, and that this faction had a tendency to recruit newcomers from Orangdan. But they were very strict in their recruitment. They only wanted to recruit those without any criminal records. So if you want to kill the kid, right. Can immediately turned around in fear, collapsing to the ground, his eyes reflecting clear pain. Yule, hearing the noise, turned around in surprise. Can's friend stood in front of him. Can cried out in pain, my hand, my hand. Cha Huan-Wu silently thought to himself that if it were anyone else, he would have already reached the B level long ago. But he couldn't bring himself to overlook this boy. Cha Huan-Wu closed his eyes tightly, seemingly lost in thought. For a moment, he saw the image of his younger brother reflected in Yule. He imagined thousands of swords piercing Cha Jung-Wu's body, blood spilling everywhere. The boy had also been betrayed by his own teammates. Can's comrades were now terrified of the masked man. When had he appeared there? He had clearly checked his surroundings. So how could this happen? Cha Huan-Wu drew his knife. If you guys like hurting others so much, then you should be prepared for the consequences. The group stared at him. This man was very strong. Khan, kneeling on the ground, was nearly out of his mind. My hand, you bastard! How dare you do this? I'll kill you. With that, he grabbed his sword and stood up. You piece of shit. But Can was no match for Cha Huan-Wu. In just a few seconds, he dodged Khan's attack and firmly gripped his wrist, then gently twisted it back. Is that so? Cha Huan-Wu used his sharp eyes to glare at Khan. If you want, I can make it so you can never use your hands again. Khan's teammate spoke up at this moment. Why are you doing this? You don't have any personal grievance with him. Why are you attacking us? He gently squeezed his shoulder to loosen it. You guys have done something, and now you still want to ask me why. One of the boys hesitated before responding. This. Cha Huan-Wu threatened. Put your weapons down. The others exchanged glances for a moment but remained in their positions. He was starting to lose his patience. His hand tightened around Khan's, making him tremble violently. He repeated, I don't want to say it again. Khan, terrified, shouted, Put them down. Do it. Throw them down, please. All of them simultaneously threw their swords onto the floor. The boy who had spoken earlier said, We've done it. Let Cam go. Cha Huan-Wu smirked maliciously. Idiots. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned and kicked Khan. The man collapsed to the ground, falling face down. his other hand still tightly gripped by Cha Huan-woo and twisted. Kan cried out in helplessness. After a while, Cha Huan-woo stopped his actions. Kan's face had turned pale, and from the look of it, it was hard to tell if he was still alive. The other friend spoke up in protest on Kan's behalf. "That's different from what you promised." Before he could finish his sentence, a blow from Cha Huan-woo came down like lightning, landing on his face with such force that he collapsed to the ground. The punch had caused his mouth to spill a fountain of blood. The remaining teammates were terrified upon seeing this. They clenched their teeth in anger, glaring at Cha Huan-woo. He was slowly losing his patience. His hand, which was tightly gripping Kan's, made him tremble violently. He repeated, "I don't want to say it again." Kane screamed in fear. "Put them down. Do it. Throw them down, please." Cha Huan-woo wasn't about to back down, though. He gripped two sharp knives in his hands and charged forward. He carefully pressed the blade against his own throat. As the two men lunged at him, the knives pressed to Cha Huan-woo's throat caused them to get slashed in the legs. They cried out in pain and collapsed on the floor. "No, my leg." At this point, Cha Huan-woo turned around and landed another punch on the faces of the two men. Both of them immediately foamed at the mouth, their eyes rolling back to show only whites. Yul stared in shock, his mouth agape at the scene. He watched Cha Huan-woo, who remained completely composed. Manhwa knew that Cha Huan-woo was strong, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. Cha Huan-woo walked toward him. "You're drooling." Yul was startled and quickly wiped his face. He instructed, "Take care of yourself, and be careful of others from now on." Before Yul could say anything, Cha Huan-woo had already left. He immediately reached out and called, "Hey, wait a second." Yul shouted, "Thank you, big brother. One day I'll be like you." Cha Huan-woo stopped in his tracks, turned back, and said to Yul, "Try going to the Prezia garden." Yul was stunned. "Huh?" Cha Huan-woo continued, "It will be quite helpful for you." After that, Cha Huan-woo turned and left, leaving Yul standing there, confused. He clenched his fist. "Prezia garden, huh?" A look of determination appeared in Yul's eyes. A group of injured people were sitting nearby. He suddenly spoke, "Oh." He leaned his hand on his thigh and looked in the direction of Cha Huan-woo. It was truly unexpected. He kicked Dolly, who was next to him. Hey, stop sleeping." Dolly yawned and sat up. She rubbed her eyes. "You didn't even let me sleep. What's going on?" He sat down in front of Dolly with a serious look. "Did you see that?" Dolly didn't understand what he was talking about. "See what?" He replied, "Well, those who were bragging about getting into a Rangdan. They just got beaten up." Dolly raised her hand to the sky to clear her mind. They were all people who went around boasting that they had been helped by the Rangdan group. What's up with them? His deep, hoarse voice echoed. They were defeated by a single person. Dolly was surprised and began to pay closer attention to the story. "Huh, all of that by just one person?" He nodded. "That's right. You think he went through level A alone. You think he also overcame level A on his own." Dolly became even more intrigued. "Huh? Is all of that true? Is he really that strong?" The two continued their cheerful conversation about making him a member of our team. "Do you think he fit?" Of course, he thought Cha Huan-woo was a perfect match. Playing solo means he doesn't belong to any team. "I don't think there's anyone else like that." He bent down and looked at Dolly. "That's why I want to invite him to join our team. If we manage to recruit him, our team's power will increase significantly." Dolly scratched his chin thoughtfully. "Yeah, you're right. If we don't manage to recruit him, we'll have to fight against him later." He stood up. "If that's the case, we just need to test him one more time. Should we follow him?" Dolly giggled. "Hey, that's a bad habit." He maintained his posture. "So you don't plan on following him?" Dolly was still a bit hesitant. "You really think we shouldn't think about it a little more?" He didn't answer Dolly's question, but instead asked, "Are you really not going?" Dolly stood up slowly. "Who said I can't go?" She smiled brightly. "Do you know that this is my favorite thing?" Haha. The challenge on level B was about to begin. Level B had a total of 4 doors, and one had to be chosen to erase the path. The image of the 4 doors appeared before Cha Huan-woo. Each door was designed to guide the player to a different room, each with a preset difficulty. Heading to the right would make it even more difficult. My younger brother had chosen the second door, the easiest one, but after a long time, once he had settled somewhat in the tower and learned about the secrets of the tutorial level, he regretted the choice he had made on level B. The rewards varied depending on the color of the door chosen on level B. The power I would gain later depended on these door choices. Cha Huen-woo stood before the black door and thought, maybe I should choose the black door. The sharp dagger that Cha Huen-woo had always dreamed of might be in here. I need to get my hands on Batory's vampiric dagger, the cursed dragon dagger. With that thought, Cha Huen-woo slowly opened the black door. After some contemplation, he stepped onto the black path. Cha Huen-woo looked at the stream of water ahead, safely swimming across the pond and heading toward the opposite side. The water looked murky, and its details appeared. The pond was formed from the massive Mimaru water, which had been accidentally spilled during transportation, and no ordinary form of life could survive in this pond. Cha Huen-woo kicked a stone on the ground, and the stone quickly flew straight into the river, and soon after, it started to break apart into pieces. Is it broken already? Cha Huen-woo calculated that if he tried to swim across without knowing the depth and width of the pond, he would die immediately. He didn't even know what might be inside. Cha Huen-woo began to activate his dragon visual prowess. It must be somewhere. He looked at the wall and saw a dark streak. Cha Huen-woo touched it. A new path immediately opened up. Beneath it were some stairs. Here's the way. System notification. You have entered the dungeon. You have found a shard of the Frost and Flame Room. Cha Huen-woo descended, gaining 300 karma. His steps halted as he found it. He looked at the wall covered with white moss, a type of moss that contained the essence of the moon. If eaten, it would cause illness, and its taste wasn't pleasant either. Only later did I realize that the path, as difficult as it was, had many different solutions. One of those solutions was white moss. White moss was a type of moss that carried the essence of the moon. In theory, it was incompatible with the human body. Therefore, even if someone ate it, they might not be able to absorb the energy, which would lead to various diseases. As a result, players who somehow found their way into the dungeon usually avoided white moss. However, I learned about it after hearing it from my family's close friend, Yeoden. White moss was a material with a very unique way of consumption. The pure white moss appeared on almost every wall in the dungeon my younger brother had discovered. To be able to use and consume it, we would need many other ingredients before it became usable. The image of the gigantic insects under the bright moonlight was truly vivid. Creatures like insects and animals considered the white moss as food that helped them grow. Insects and beasts that eat the white moss have evolved stomachs that generate artificial heat to absorb the essence of the moon, and the heat emanating from the heart, which contains the properties of fire. Father Huen-woo looked around. On the other hand, the properties of white moss were water. If you balance both the heart and the moss at the same time, the two attributes will merge and become a medicine. First, it will harden bones and muscles. He kept analyzing but was unaware that a huge insect had appeared behind him. It was quite dark as one ventured deeper. Both sides of the walls were mostly covered in white moss. At this moment, a centipede crawled across in front of him. Both sides of the walls here had been completely consumed. Surely there was some monster living around here. When he became aware of the presence of the centipede, Father Huen-woo quickly drew his knife. A giant centipede. He swung the knife powerfully in his hand. He stood before the massive centipede. He needed to kill this centipede to upgrade his basic stats. He began analyzing the centipede crawling on the white moss-covered wall. The red centipede. A centipede that relied on the white moss as its main food source. Although its eyes had obscured the truth that it lived in a cave under the sea, its other senses had developed more, and sometimes it preferred to eat meat rather than the usual moss. The fire monster has appeared. The hidden mission involves both ice and fire. The room of ice and fire is filled with monsters that consume white moss. If they escape from the dungeon, the external ecosystem could be disrupted, so hunt as many monsters as possible. The red centipede continues to follow the trail of white moss. Cha Huen-woo deliberately brushed past it, holding a knife in his hand. I originally wanted to stab it to test, but I discovered that it was too tough. Cha Huen-woo observed it. Deep in thought, normal attacks would have no effect on it. Its biological shell was too hard. The dagger I threw just now barely pierced its skin, but the wound was too shallow. That's not enough to weaken it. He continued his train of thought. There's a huge difference between setting traps and killing monsters. I just need to find the right strategy. After all, life is just life. And that's true for monsters as well. Maybe it has a weakness. Cha Huen-woo activated his skill, Dragon Visual Prowess. The red centipede straightened up, its large, beautiful eyes fixed on Cha Huan-woo. He carefully studied it for a moment and discovered its weakness. There it is. While the red centipede was still engrossed in eating the white moss, Cha Huan-woo slowly approached, trying not to make a sound. He stopped. I need the right moment to stab it. Then, taking advantage of the moment when the red centipede noticed him, Cha Huan-woo charged forward. He used its tough body as a springboard, then gradually made his way to the precise spot, its weak point. Cha Huan-woo raised the knife and thrust it forcefully into the body of Red, but even he couldn't have predicted that Red had an inner layer. The knife only pierced through the outer shell, but when it reached the inner layer, it could not go any further. At this moment, the red centipede touched his body. Cha Huan-woo flinched and looked over. His reflexes were quick. He struggled to remove the knife that was embedded in Red's body. After pulling the knife out, Cha Huan-woo stumbled backward, collapsing into a pile of rubble. Intense pain surged through his body. He was affected by dizziness. Cha Huan-woo spat out blood. He suddenly exclaimed, "Ah, you have severe internal injuries. You're in shock. The fluid, it's likely that the red centipede's venom has seeped into your body. You're suffering from poisoning." Cha Huan-woo painfully leaned against the white moss wall, his entire body aching to the point where he could barely breathe. 4 ribs, 2 vertebrae were broken. His left thigh vein was torn, and the tendon in his right ankle was severed. Gradually, he opened his eyes. The air conditioning effect had helped him maintain his composure. The dizziness status effect was cleared, and he developed pain resistance. The shock status effect was cleared, and he developed impact resistance. The poisoning status effect was cleared, and he developed poison resistance. A moment later, Cha Huan-woo drew his knife again, preparing to rise up. The skill of resisting physical strength had been created. You have shown remarkable composure of mind in every situation. You have achieved profound enlightenment regarding perseverance and an indomitable will. The red centipede opened its mouth wide in front of Cha Huan-woo. The skill of combat willpower had been created. Cha Huan-woo continued to thrust the knife directly into its claw. His hand began to tremble. It seems this centipede is not easy to deal with. The centipede kept crawling on the wall, the rocks there cracking under the pressure of its massive claw. Cha Huan-woo carefully reconsidered, noticing there was only one weak spot above, where the hard shell was currently. He raised the knife and then plunged it directly into its abdomen. This is its abdomen. The red centipede's blood gushed out from its abdomen. The greenish blood splattered onto Cha Huan-woo's mask and onto the knife lodged in its belly. The red centipede slowly slid down. It collapsed straight onto the ground covered with white moss. Next to it, Cha Huan-woo lay resting, exhausted. He panted, glancing at the knife in his hand, now stained with fresh blood. The red centipede trembled on the ground for a moment. After closing its eyes, it breathed its last and died from Cha Huan-woo's strike. You have successfully killed the red centipede. You have killed an enemy that would normally be impossible for you to defeat. Cha Huan-woo gently removed his mask. He looked at the ground covered in white moss, mixed with the blood of the red centipede. Cha Huan-woo reached out, grasping a small amount of white moss. He then put it into his mouth and tried eating it. The white moss slowly fell into his stomach. Cha Huan-woo wiped the corner of his mouth with his hand. He looked at the drops of blue blood on the ground. Cha Huan-woo grabbed a large lump. He opened his mouth. In another scene, Boone, upon seeing the beaten group of people, angrily asked, "What happened here?" Kan and his companion both had grim faces, remaining silent. Seeing their silence, Boone could only speculate. What exactly happened here? Did someone beat them like this? He felt incredibly irritated. Could that bastard be challenging us? This is frustrating. He must know they are under Orangdan's protection, but he doesn't care. That means he's looking down on us. Boone turned to ask his teammate, a guy wearing a white mask. His companion answered slowly, "Huh, yes, that's right." Boone fell into thought. A mask, huh? Then, without saying another word, he turned and walked away. As he walked, Boone thought to himself that he would find and hunt that person down right now. Its sharp gaze looked very angry. After Cha Huan-woo successfully killed the red centipede, a notification appeared on the system. You have successfully killed the red centipede. You have defeated an enemy that would normally be impossible for you. Karma points will be added shortly. Without hesitation, Cha Wu tossed the loot into his mouth and chewed vigorously. Along with the digestive process, a notification appeared. The red centipede's heart has been consumed in combination with the white moss. The heart reveals its hidden effects. Beneficial effects have been activated. Your joints and wounds are healed and have become tougher than before. The muscles deep inside are also tightening, and your skin is smoother. His physique also began to gradually improve bit by bit. The notification appeared again. The number of monsters currently being hunted is 1. You have gained the hidden power, heart flame, and the frost badge. Huan Wu ignored those lines. He closed his eyes, leaned against the rock, seeking rest after a long battle. Father Huan Wu tiredly reflected. Well, I somehow did it. I managed to get the heart flame and the frost badge. Although I want to rest, for now, Huan Wu still tried to open the system menu to check. I've heard that the stronger your body becomes, the faster you recover when you feel tired. It's a relief. Reading the status before him, he thought to himself, I didn't expect to get more stat points from killing the red centipede than from defeating the dungeon boss. Currently, Father Huan Wu's stats have undergone a few changes. Strength 60, Agility 65, Endurance 62, MP 21, Dragon Visual Prowess 3.1%, Enhanced Vision 17.8%, Physical Resistance 7.2%, Combat Will 3.2%, Long Range Vision 0%. Cha Huan Wu realized that his energy level was too low to comfortably use any skills. The magical power was truly the only flaw he had, but he didn't know what to do about it, since his MP wasn't increasing. He knew that his top priority was to figure out a way to sense mana as soon as possible. But the question was, how could he do that now? Still, he felt somewhat happy that his stats had significantly increased. This was not the only problem, however. Huan Wu analyzed the power of the dragon ancient Calatus and found it to be truly impressive. But there would be many situations where mana would be useful. He had enough experience to know that this would definitely happen as long as he continued to climb higher in this tower. Currently, his physical resistance at level E, with a proficiency of 72%, would be effective against external impacts. When activated, this skill would increase his resistance to physical attacks. Physical resistance would help against external impacts, minimizing the effects of an attack and reducing pain. Thinking back on the dangerous situation he had just been in, Huan Wu silently thought, I really have to thank my cold-blooded nature. Otherwise, I would have been done for just now. However, the pain still didn't seem to ease much. He felt that the pain was still intense, even though it had been somewhat reduced. This meant that the user had to possess an iron will. But in future battles, this skill would definitely help him a great deal in defeating his opponents. This is about physical resistance, as well as other adverse effects like poisoning, freezing, burning, and panic. Hallucinations and curses are the biggest obstacles in raids. But if I can avoid all of those, it will create a significant advantage. After a while, Huan Wu decided to take a break to apply his most notable skill, Fighting Spirit. Cha Huan Wu's Fighting Spirit skill was rated D+, with a proficiency of 32%. Thanks to his perseverance and indomitable will, he could also ignite his fighting spirit regardless of the circumstances. While focusing on combat, the increased speed of thought helped him make quick decisions. He considered this to be the most important skill he had ever encountered. Huan Wu understood that in a life-or-death situation, being able to make a calm judgment was crucial, and this skill was vital for that. Moreover, this skill could be used in many different ways. It was lucky that he had it, or else he would have been sent straight to the altar by the Ogong. He smiled contentedly, genuinely thinking that this skill wasn't too bad. It was hard to acquire a D-rank skill in the tutorial level. After a brief rest and some reflection, Huan Wu put his mask back on and continued to explore the dungeon. The further he went, the more monsters appeared. Against weaker creatures like these bats, a simple strike was enough for Cha Huan Wu to take them down. The notification popped up. You have successfully defeated 5 sonic bats. Number of monsters killed, 147. Cha Huan Wu felt that he had gradually gotten used to the task of hunting monsters and disarming traps. He picked up a bat, extracted a few of its teeth and claws, which belonged to the sonic bat. These could be useful materials. Next, Huan Wu took out a vial of liquid and thought to himself that this was a mixture of white moss and the venomous blood of a red centipede, and he had used the exact ratio when preparing it. If he poured it onto the bat's teeth and claws, He recited the steps in his mind as he proceeded. The liquid and the pile of teeth and claws began to mix together. Immediately, a reaction took place, producing thick smoke. Shortly afterward, he had extracted a powder with the essence of fire. It was highly volatile and could explode when exposed to flame. This could be considered a simplified version of gunpowder. Once completed, Huyen Wu took out a small bag and collected the explosive powder inside, ready for use when necessary. Before long, he'd have filled several pouches at his waist. He then looked up and silently considered what to do next. Looking ahead, he saw a gigantic colony of green ants surrounded by numerous large ant eggs. These were known as blue army ants. Each ant ranged in size from 30 centimeters to a full meter in length. Hundreds of ants formed a society around their queen. As Huyen Wu approached, he thought to himself, due to the nature of ant society, all types of ants, including worker ants, were willing to sacrifice their lives to protect their environment if it was threatened. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel exasperated. Just get into the fight with all of them at once, please. Father Huyen Wu guessed that the room outside this tunnel was where Batory's vampiric dagger was kept. The vampiric monarch was one of the lords who had been destroyed long ago. According to ancient legends, the Countess was the one who brought death and destruction. She could drain the life force from others to feed her own, and if allowed to continue, she could even steal their skills. This demonic queen was described with hair made of venomous snakes, much like the image of Medusa in mythology. He had heard that many players and families still ground their teeth in frustration whenever they recalled the damage they suffered at her hands. When it comes to artifacts, the fewer there are, the higher the quality. Artifacts with a 3-digit number, in the range of 300, are among the best. The item that Father Huyen Wu was targeting this time was Batory's vampiric dagger, artifact number 352. Moreover, this was an extremely unique piece, one of the rarest artifacts in the entire tower and the guide levels. Therefore, Huyen Wu couldn't afford to miss this. By all means, he had to get this dagger. He was determined not to let it slip away. Looking at the line of ants blocking his path ahead, he thought to himself, even a path that seemed blocked always has a way through. With that thought, Father Huyen Wu reached down to his side, readying himself. In an instant, he accelerated, charging swiftly towards the blue army ants. These ants were incredibly sensitive, shaking their antennae when they sensed someone approaching. He quickly reached to his side, pulling out 3 homemade grenades, and threw them towards the green ants. These creatures, not known for their high IQ, immediately moved towards the powder that had just fallen. But before the ants could react, Huyen Wu took a lighter from his pocket and directly threw it towards the explosive powder. As previously described, the characteristics of this powder caused a widespread explosion. The unfortunate green ants, with their natural fear of fire, died instantly. The flames spread to their entire nest. The system displayed a notification. You have successfully blown up the ant dungeon. 217 blue army ants have been blown apart. 89 of them have been burned to death. Karma bonuses will be provided. Meanwhile, Huyen Wu was not idle. He stood blocking the exit, aiming to eliminate the ants trying to escape. Some remaining ants charged at him, but were easily dispatched with a single slash. One by one, the ants either died in the nest from the flames or rushed out only to be killed by Huyen Wu's blade. The situation was handled swiftly and efficiently. Huyen Wu scanned the surroundings. Most of the ants were dead, leaving only a few eggs that hadn't hatched yet. But there were still many worker ants alive. Some of the other ants began breaking open the eggs to emerge. Huyen Wu realized that it would not be good to wait until all the ants were exterminated. He decided that he would sweep through the ant nest after receiving the Blood Moon Sword Battalion. He focused his gaze in one direction, towards a path created between the ant nest, marked by the chaotic explosions. Huyen Wu assessed that right now, he needed to focus on getting the Sword Battalion first. Suddenly, everything around him began to shake erratically, the ground vibrating with a loud rumble as if something enormous was approaching. Before him appeared a gigantic ant of extraordinary size. Unlike the worker ants, this one had wings, scorched by the flames created by the chemicals used. Some of the creature's toes were mangled, yet it still managed to crawl out of its nest. This was no ordinary ant. Realizing its power, Huyen Wu immediately assumed a fighting stance. The monster glared at him, its eyes filled with hatred for the destruction of its base. This was the boss monster. The queen ant had appeared. In an instant, the enormous queen ant lunged forward, her massive claws aiming to strike at Cha Huinwu. Right in front of him, a giant blue ant lunged at him. The system alerted. Boss monster, Queen Blue Army Ant. The monster roared as it gathered momentum, charging towards him. One of its claws slammed down right where he was standing. Huinwu quickly jumped to avoid the strike. His eyes scanned the surroundings, stopping when they landed on the anthill. There must be some kind of entrance inside that anthill, he thought. The ant stood in front of a door, and countless fireballs surrounded it, waiting to strike. The moment Huinwu saw it, he couldn't help but think to himself, "There it is." He pulled out 3 daggers, holding them between his fingers like darts. With a swift motion, he threw them, and all 3 daggers flew through the air at once, leaving only streaks of light behind. The daggers sped towards the queen ant, who couldn't dodge in time and was hit by one of them. It pierced her body. Huinwu quickly withdrew the dagger and aimed it at the monster. He dashed forward and slashed at its leg. The blade cut through one of its legs. The queen ant lost balance and fell, unable to stand. The worker ants, seeing their leader defeated, rushed forward. Meanwhile, Huinwu succeeded in passing through, approaching the door. He used all his strength to push it open. As the door creaked open, a stream of green light reflected onto his face. The system chimed again. "You have entered the shrine of the vampiric monarch." 2 torches flickered with green flames in front of the temple. But inside the shrine, the light glowed with an eerie red hue. In the center stood a statue, motionless. The statue of a woman with snakes for hair holds in her hand a small dagger with a glowing blue light. Batory's the vampiric monarch. It is the highest-rated weapon of the vampiric monarch. Alert system. Batory's vampiric dagger, Vampire Antique Dagger 352. One-handed weapon classification. Unique evaluation. Huinwu smirked. The one I need, the final strike, has finally been obtained. It will help me align closing the gap between myself and the other players. He stepped onto the first step, always thinking about the dagger. A quick glance was enough to see the terrifying power of the dagger. As soon as the enemy is afflicted with the bleeding status, the dagger can increase the damage to a level higher than average. However, the power of this dagger is sealed. Its true value is still a big question for me. The statue was incredibly lifelike. Even the snakeheads seemed like living creatures. Huinwu lowered his head in respect to the statue, then resolutely gripped the hilt of the dagger and pulled it up. As soon as he drew it, a stream of black energy surged toward him, wrapping around the arm holding the dagger. The black energy prevented him from taking the weapon away. He winced in pain. The dagger will choose its user. If the player is not chosen, their body will be destroyed. However, do the players who have just entered the tutorial level possess the ability to prevent this threat? That is why some players quickly find themselves facing the end. He seemed to understand something and immediately raised the dagger. He placed his hand down on the stone platform. If other players saw him doing this, they would think he had lost his mind. Huinwu raised the dagger high. By instinct, the dagger stabbed into his hand. A stream of black energy followed the blade, seeping into the wound, causing his hand to darken in parts. The black energy kept flowing into his hand. Batory's vampiric dagger was originally a skill, but it posed a tremendous challenge. The vampiric monarch was so greedy that she didn't want to pass on her most valuable weapon to anyone, even after her death. Therefore, she sealed the true form and power of the blade and left it in the world. The black energy lingering on Huinwu's hand gradually turned into black bubbles that floated upwards. Soon after, the system announced, "The seal has been removed." The dark aura enveloped his arm, forming into the maw of a wild beast, showing its fangs. The heart that had been soaring high for so long finally touched the ground, and the seal had finally been completely undone. At that moment, the system also announced, "True form of Batory's vampiric dagger, Antiques 66, proficiency 0%. The hand was enveloped by the wild beast, extending itself so the master could feel its power. A truly astonishing power. The system immediately displayed the skill of Asterisk, Sword Blood Mark Asterisk. If the target is struck by a critical hit, the target will bleed. Targets under the bleeding effect will receive a damage over time effect. Next is the power of Asterisk, the Vampiric Monarch Asterisk, consuming energy and reducing a portion of the target's attribute points. If proficiency reaches its maximum level, the target's skills may be stolen. Huinwu smirked with a sneer. With hands like those of a demon, he moved toward the next door, a mocking grin on his face. Asterisk game hack successful. You're all screwed now, asterisk. He stepped through the next door, and immediately, a small ant was taken down. The rest of the ants, seeing their companion fall, rushed forward to swarm his legs, growing in number. The head of another ant was burned to a crisp. Its eyes flared with fury as it glared at asterisk world asterisk. Huang Wu drew his dagger, his sharp gaze focused on them. In the next instant, he jumped onto the head of an ant, bringing one foot down. Upon landing, he sat firmly on the ant's back. Huang Wu raised the arm that had been pierced by the sword earlier, and the creature it contained emerged, enveloping his arm. One hand held it, while the other struck down onto the ant's body. He softly muttered 2 words. Swallow it. The arm began to pull the essence from the ant's body, as the system voice echoed. Asterisk, you have absorbed life energy. Its body gradually withers and loses color. Beitori's vampiric dagger skill proficiency increased by 0.1%, asterisk. The more its body withered, the more the system notifications appeared. You have absorbed life energy. Your strength has increased by 1 point. Your endurance has increased by 2 points. You are still continuing to hack the game. As soon as the Queen Ant fell, you had killed the boss monster, Queen Blue Army Ant. Karma will be added. You have gained 300 karma. The remaining Blue Army Ants, seeing their queen fall, trembled in fear. From above, different-sized water shadows fell along with the system's warning sounds. The Blue Army Ants have lost their will to fight. The ant tunnel will soon collapse. The collapse was already in progress. In the 2 dark chambers, 2 voices kept responding to each other. Imph. Is there anywhere like this place used to be? I'd never seen this place before. At least he wasn't strong enough to enter a place like this. Are you sure he's here? Candy spoke first. Yugam, that's what you said. If you don't believe me, you can go back. Dolly yawned and sighed, covering her mouth. Ah, who said I didn't believe? Why are you being so harsh? Candy smiled and tried to smooth things over, slinging an arm around her. Come on, don't be like that. We're family. The eyes beneath her pink hair showed, and she straightened her face, making a judgment. But maybe, it seems like someone has hunted down a lot of monsters. Both of their gazes shifted to the monsters lying scattered on the ground, defeated. Candy wiped a bead of cold sweat from her brow. This is really impressive. Is he really this strong? The monsters here don't look weak at all. Dolly crossed her arms and stood watching, quickly adding, Yeah, it's funny to say this, but just looking at the traces, the ones inside this dungeon can't be weak. Maybe he's just too strong. Dolly opened his eyes wide, as if suddenly realizing something. He quickly said, Brother. The other person didn't wait for him to finish, quickly replying, Yeah, I know this is no joke anymore. The ants that were wiped out earlier are scattered across the ground, no longer green, just dry and withered. The 2 of them carefully observed them. Candy said, Where did he find this? When we were searching, there was no sign of this, nor of this dungeon. Candy felt uneasy inside, thinking, not only did he solo floor A, but he might also have some overpowering skill. A cold sweat broke out on Candy's forehead as he said, This is incredible. Is he really this strong? The monsters here don't look weak at all. Dolly crossed his arms and stood watching, quickly adding, Yeah, it's funny to say this, but just looking at the traces, the ones inside this dungeon can't be weak. Maybe he's just too strong. A noise came from behind, and both of them instinctively turned their heads in unison. At the entrance of the cave, a swarm of green ants was slowly advancing. The 2 of them understood each other, exchanged glances, and nodded. Elsewhere, Huang Wu was still sweeping through the tunnel. The system's notifications kept coming. You have killed a brown-scaled salamander. Monster kill count 1,000, along with a series of achievements displayed. Right after the system's last message, his hands reacted. 2 streams of green energy wrapped around his arms. The effects of Heart of Fire and Crest of Frost were complete. Everything inside his body started to change. You gently called. Status window. The status window appeared with insignificant numbers. Thanks to the energy of the monsters I drained using Beitori's vampiric dagger, my stats have undergone an unparalleled significant increase. My stats have been boosted quite considerably. The system window then displayed another set of stats, Enhanced Physique, essentially meaning you have consumed the heart of a fire attribute and absorbed its essence. The combination of fire and ice attributes grants incredible immunity and resistance. making fatigue less likely to accumulate. You observed carefully, but your current stats made you reflect, with the physical enhancement making your body resistant to fatigue. Most notably, the self-regeneration ability gave you an advantage by reducing the chances of severe injury in critical situations. However, there was another reason why you needed this trait. Your gaze lingered on the system window. The system window displayed an improvement notification, confirming the enhancement of your body. You are strong enough now, and the awakening process has paused and will resume. In the end, the number stopped at 21.3%. Your face was hidden behind the mask, making it impossible to discern your expression. But there was definitely a feeling of joy within. I did it, but this is just the beginning. I need to keep refining my body further. The system offered an option. Your rank in the tutorial stage has been updated. Would you like to register your name on the leaderboard? Your finger moved to select no. The system screen displayed. Registration has been cancelled. Huan Wu looked at the text and gently thought to himself, it's better not to. I don't want to appear on the leaderboard and attract too much attention from the guilds. You opened the ranking table to check your position. I'm ranked 281st. You looked down with a doubtful gaze. I was happy to be in the ranking, but why is the gap so large? Maybe the top 10 competitors are better than I expected. At this rate, everything will go down the drain. I need to accelerate significantly. It was as if you sensed something, suddenly turning around, your heart already realizing. Someone's there. Huan Wu moved closer to the cave entrance. There are two people behind me. When do they start following me? You instinctively grabbed the knife at your waist. Who are they? They might be from Orangdan, seeking revenge. A shadow appeared briefly after the movement. Your eyes shot a glance in that direction. Without hesitation, Huan Wu threw his knife. The person who arrived was Dolly, his face pale, and the knife passed less than half a meter from his face. He collapsed to the ground, shouting loudly, "Damn it!" Candy rushed out to shield him, knocking the flying knife aside. The dagger fell to the ground, while Huan Wu remained in a combat stance. Candy rolled her eyes, growling, "What the hell are you doing?" Huan Wu calmly asked, "Orangdan, right?" Candy shot back, "Orangdan what? What do you mean?" Huan Wu bluntly asked, "Then why are you two following me?" Candy lowered her voice, speaking ominously. "What the hell are you doing?" Huan Wu said, "If someone is following you, and you don't know their intentions, you would react the same way I did." The two of them lowered their heads, and Candy apologized. "You're right, we sincerely apologize." Huan Wu looked at them silently. After a while, he spoke up, "All right, explain your situation." Candy looked at Dolly and smiled. Excitedly, Candy pointed at him and said, "You should join our team." A big question mark appeared above Huan Wu's head. Candy kept his finger pointed at the other person. Dolly just covered his face, feeling too embarrassed to accept the team offer. Dolly bashfully pointed at Candy and said, "Stop it, don't you feel ashamed?" Candy asked cluelessly, "Ashamed of what?" Huan Wu, feeling like an outsider, glanced at them and said, "Are they putting on a circus performance?" Without thinking, he turned around to leave. Candy quickly called after him, "Hey, where are you going? We haven't finished talking." When he saw Huan Wu not responding, he hurriedly grabbed his arm. Huan Wu, growing impatient, said, "What? Do you still have something to say?" Candy quickly replied, "You haven't given me an answer. I want you to join my team." Huan Wu flatly responded, "No, is that clear enough?" Candy was stunned. "Huh, why?" Huan Wu turned back to look at them and said, "I don't know what you two are up to, and I don't see any benefit in working with either of you." Candy, feeling confused, asked, "Wait, you don't know me?" Huan Wu replied, "How could I know you?" Candy exclaimed, "What? Really?" Huan Wu shot back, "Who are you for me to know?" At this moment, Candy was somewhat confused. Actually, he slapped his chest. But how could he not really know me? I mean, it's me. How could he not recognize me? I'm like the brightest star in the guide tower. Huan Wu seemed more agitated by this name. Dolly quickly pushed her brother aside and intervened. "I'm really sorry. We didn't mean to offend you. I hope you understand. But you're not a bad person, so don't worry." Dolly shyly said, "Let us introduce ourselves. I'm Dolly, and this foolish person is my brother." The system board next to them immediately displayed their rankings, Dolly and Candy. In the guide tower rankings, They were ranked 11th and 3 stars, respectively. Dolly chuckled and said, "It's a bit embarrassing for him to say that. Actually, it's all thanks to my brother that we've come this far." Huan Wu understood and replied, "Perhaps it's true that the two of you followed me to invite me into your team." Dolly was delighted that he understood. "I'm so glad you believe us." Huan Wu enhanced his gaze into dragon eyes. "Recently, I've been using dragon eyes to assess my surroundings. Negative things appear black, quite different from the positive ones. Dolly and Canby's auras seem brighter. What they're saying might actually be true." He pondered. "So why would players like you two, who should be busy completing your guide tower quests and collecting karma, be so concerned about coming back here to ask someone like me to join your team?" Just then, Dolly's voice interrupted his train of thought. "Before you answer that question, I want to confirm a few things with you." He replied. "What?" Dolly asked, "Are you part of any team or clan?" He answered no. Dolly heard the answer she wanted and happily continued. "I can add someone from Floor E at the time when players reach the later stages, and they usually join a different family team." Huan Wu countered, "So you two want to invite me?" Dolly said, "Yes, I want to invite you and your team so that we can enter Floor E." Huan Wu still pondered deeply. It was hard to assess a player's skills in Section A. Perhaps they had noticed him during the search in Section B. He lowered his eyelids. Perhaps they saw me while we were fighting. After a moment, he looked up and responded to Dolly. "You're saying there is an item in Floor E that's very difficult to obtain, even for players ranked 3rd and 11th, and you need someone to help with this, right?" Dolly, caught in her thoughts, awkwardly smiled and replied, "Yes. I can't tell you the details, though." He thought, "It seems they need the Hargan crown beneath the spot where 3 trees are tangled on Floor E. There's a cave where the Lizardmen leader, Hargan, resides. It's a hidden fragment that my brother and his team, Arthea, struggled to obtain. But what matters most is the item inside Hargan's lair. The Hargan crown is a very insignificant item to me, but it was because of this so-called crown that my brother was betrayed by those he trusted most. The law of the jungle has prevailed in the tower. If someone turns their back on an enemy, they can be devoured." Huan Wu once again gave a thoughtful look at the two of them. "If I had teammates, I would only choose 1 or 2. That's a number I think wouldn't be a burden and would be easy to discard." Dolly saw him hesitating and immediately set a condition. "You won't be disappointed with the compensation. We can also adjust the terms if you need anything else. What do you think? I'm sure this isn't a bad deal even for you." Huan Wu agreed. "All right, I'll help you, but on one condition." Dolly asked. "What condition?" Huan Wu replied. "Besides the items you need, I want all the other rewards." The two of them exchanged hesitant looks. "All right, it's all yours, but you have to show us what you've got." Candy, not particularly concerned, extended her hand for a handshake. "Ha! Anyway, it's nice to meet you. So tell me your name, brother." The two shook hands quickly in peace. "He seems friendly, but I can't reveal my real name. Instead, I should give them my code name, my second identity when I enter the nation's CP battlefield." He gently replied, "Kane. My name is Kane." The defeated Green Goblin mumbled, Humans are too strong. I need to." Candy noticed Huan Wu wiping blood off his dagger and suddenly wondered, "What am I looking at? Is he the same person from Floor B earlier? How could he have developed so quickly?" Then, Huan Wu reached out and opened the door, with light seeping in. "You've completed Floor D as a solo player. All status effects will be cleared. You've entered Floor E." Candy grumbled. "Hemph, it's really quite stuffy inside the dungeon, particularly in Section C." Dolly, on the other hand, rubbed her eyes and said, "I'm a bit sad about leaving. It's the perfect place for a short nap." The tutorial floor can be divided into 2 areas, the inner area and the outer area. The inner area refers to the first areas from Floor A to Floor B, which are designed to help new players assess their skill level and train on what they lack. The outer area refers to the later areas from Floor E to Floor G, which test the skills players have learned in the inner area and validate their expertise. System notification. The challenge for Floor E will begin shortly. Huan Wu looked up in surprise at his hand, as the system notification read, "You have been granted a token." Many tokens are hidden throughout Floor E. They may also be traded or exchanged between players here. Earn 99 tokens to determine your skill level. Candy glanced at Huan Wu's token and immediately remarked, It annoys me every time I see that. Xia Huan-Wu then thought that this likely meant it was possible to threaten or even kill others to take their tokens. To earn tokens, you can either complete assigned tasks or steal from other players. Finding the hidden tokens throughout the entire floor is quite a difficult task. Instead, hiding and ambushing other players, then killing them to steal their tokens, would be much easier. My younger brother had a tough time dealing with such problems. But what set Arthea apart from other teams was that, despite all the temptations, they managed to clear Floor E just by collecting the hidden tokens without any betrayal within the team. Xia Huan-Wu turned to look at the other two, thinking to himself, Candy and Dolly are just staring at their tokens and showing no interest in taking mine. It seems like they've already collected quite a few tokens before returning to Floor B, or they might have already gathered all 99 tokens. Huan-Wu then spoke up, I've finished reading the message. So let's move right away. You said you're looking for a hidden fragment on Floor E, right? Let's complete that now. And then I still need to find my token. Candy replied, yeah, but it's quite a distance from here to there. It'll take a while before we get there. Floor E boasted a much larger area, far greater than the combined area of the 4 previous floors. As a result, each region had its own unique geography, within a different environment, creating a distinct ecosystem. Black stone mountains lined up after a barren desert stretching along the east, with a river flowing through a vast grassland to the west. Small hills stretched southward. A large forest covered the northern area, and at the edge of the forest, there was a patch of swampy mud. Each region also had a large number of monsters. Smaller monsters like goblins and kobolds formed villages around the forest. They shared food there, creating a community. But there were also larger monsters like trolls and ogres that had lived deep in the forest for a long time. Lizardmen, sandworms, and orc settlements had been spotted in the northern swamps, eastern deserts, and western grasslands. The challenge was finding tokens while dealing with monsters and protecting one's tokens from other players. Even more dangerous than these monsters. Both are important. And now we are heading towards the northern swamp. The 3 of them have entered that vast forest. At the same time, in another place, in a room filled with various types of weapons, a voice said yes. The commander of the Orangutan squad exclaimed, Are you saying he is with Candy and Dolly? Why are they with him, especially in level E? He replied, Sorry, sir, but we have not confirmed the situation exactly. I've only received reports that they are heading north of the forest. Then why am I just hearing about this now? The reports came from a previous section, so we thought it wasn't important. I'm afraid our assumption was. Hearing this, the commander slammed his hand down on the table in anger. What does that mean? Have they already teamed up? He suddenly realized there must be someone behind this. Candy and Dolly were filthy. They must have recruited the masked man, even though they knew he had caused trouble for Orangutan. This was clearly an act of war against Orangutan, or even Chiang Wado, with contemptuous attitudes. Thinking this, he ordered his troops, Go to where he is. Gather all members. They are all waiting outside. We will move towards him as soon as possible. The scene shifts to a crackling fire. Father Huan-Wu sits quietly, deep in thought. Since joining this strange game, he probably hasn't had a moment to rest, let alone take a break. He's gone through so much hardship just to get to this level, and time has passed so quickly. Suddenly, Huan-Wu feels something, glancing sideways. What an interesting pair. What's their relationship, I wonder? I'm sure they're not siblings. Day after day, the 2 of them face countless dangers. Yet without a doubt, they treat each other like blood siblings. It's truly admirable. Dolly has intelligence, while Candy is strong in combat. Occasionally, Candy reveals a fleeting glimpse of her exceptional swordsmanship. It's powerful, sharp, and fierce. It seems to strike a balance between grandeur and practicality. Dolly is the same. The boy always has a dull, sleepy look in his eyes, but at times, he shows a sharp gaze, and at those moments, he demonstrates his keen and flexible judgment. The teamwork the duo exhibits is like 2 gears meshing perfectly together. Nothing remarkable at first glance. They seem to have studied or practiced beforehand, but they've developed a certain connection, and instinctively know what the next move will be. The 2 of them trust each other completely. This bond could never exist without mutual trust. Perhaps that's what it is. A relationship that others can't help but admire. I really don't understand why they decided to join this game. He thought, surely they will always be together. It's good that they can still be by each other's side to support one another. Looking at them, I think of my younger sibling. I've tried not to think about it, but seeing them makes me feel that I must take revenge for my sibling and I must do it quickly. While he was lost in thought, the noise around him startled him. Why are you awake? You still have a little time before it's your turn. Candy immediately replied, How could I sleep with all this noise around here? He said, Why are you awake? You still have a little time before it's your turn. Candy immediately replied, How could I sleep with all this noise around here? Dolly also exclaimed, Yawn. How long are you planning to leave them like this? Hyun-woo replied, I plan to get rid of them once they get closer. I'm sorry for letting them wake you up. Dolly said, It's fine. I wanted to move my body a bit anyway. I haven't participated in a fight for a while. My brother, do you think they know we're here? Candy asked again, Is there a problem? Then he drew his sword and looked at it. More importantly, they are enemies, and they are aiming at us. After that, Candy swung a sword into the bushes. One of them fell dead, and they exclaimed, Damn it, how did they notice we were here? Another one said, They know we're here, and another added, Split up, it's more dangerous if we stay clustered together. Candy's gaze became sharper. He charged into the crowd, and swiftly took down each person, one by one. In the blink of an eye, the entire group was logged out of Earth. Cha Hyun-woo stood still as he saw the insects flying by, and then more bugs appeared. He looked toward Dolly. Is that the Tamer class insect skill? Quite a powerful ability, kid. The insects flew toward the group of people, swarming all over them. They screamed, Damn it! These damn bugs! Get away from me! Go away! Another noise echoed. Dolly turned and was surprised. Two people were lurking behind their Hyun-woo. Dolly realized that these idiots, out of all the choices, had picked the worst one. So dumb. These fools were going to mess with Cha Hyun-woo. That was the end of them. Brothers, 1 minute of silence. It's about to begin, Dolly thought. Other groups were likely carrying out their looting on this E-tier floor. They truly enjoyed this dirty work. Under the pretext of collecting tokens, they robbed players of their wealth, items, and other goods. Afterward, the items were distributed among the group members to significantly boost their combat strength. If they were lucky enough, they might even get a few skill books. Tokens could be sold to top-ranked players at very high prices. Additionally, there were certain places in need of slaves. They bought workers or slaves from prostitutes, livestock, and even specimens and people for experimental purposes. They use human bodies for many dark purposes, so they don't have to worry about where to sell the prisoners. Of course, who wouldn't want to make money from such a profitable business? Besides, I am on the same team as the top-ranked players, Candy and Dolly. No one knows how many tokens they carry or what items are being kept for them by the two top-ranked players. While Cha Hyun-woo was still lost in thought, the guy behind him was trying to sneak up, holding a dagger. He raised the dagger to strike at Hyun-woo's neck. But suddenly it hit something strange with a thud. He exclaimed, What's this? Meanwhile, Hyun-woo had appeared behind him and struck him down to hell with a single blow. His underlings rushed over, shocked. What kind of person is this? Boss! Then, they charged at him together, running full speed, but Cha Hyun-woo didn't hesitate to meet them head-on. He dashed forward, and in an instant, the entire group was wiped out. One of them swung his knife quickly, but Hyun-woo dodged and immediately retaliated with a strike. The man dropped dead. The others, seeing this, fled in panic. But even while running, one of them screamed, Dan, Hyun-woo won't let us escape. In a flash, the group counted. There are a total of 21 people. Cha Hyun-woo said, 81 tokens. This hunt wasn't bad. Dolly, impressed, replied, Incredible. This is the first time I've seen someone gather tokens as fast as you. All 81 of these must have been stolen from other players. More than 1,000 people have been here looking for tokens and fighting them. 81 is a tiny number compared to 1,000. Father Hyun-woo continued, but that's only possible because they are the so-called spirit seekers. Most players have 10 tokens or fewer, which means stealing from others and killing them is justified. Dolly also agreed. That's right. There is a kind of hierarchy on level E where the strong win everything. A minority of powerful players take tokens from the majority of weaker players. The weaker players have no choice but to surrender their tokens to survive. Even if they make up for their losses, they will eventually be robbed again. No matter what they do, the strong can simply sit back and stack tokens at an astonishing rate. On the other hand, tokens are used to exchange for karma points. So the weak can only either surrender or accept their fate of being hunted. That's why there's such a large gap between the high-ranking players and the others. Dolly exclaimed, "Anyway, the more tokens we collect, the better. We'll use them to earn karma points, and also buy items from the mysterious merchants. Oh, by the way, you can take all those tokens." Father Heinwu remained silent. "We didn't pay you before we made the deal, did we? Think of it as payment." Huan Wu gently said, "You two need karma too." Candy chuckled softly. "Haha, are you worried about us? We have enough for ourselves, so it's really fine." He said, "Then thank you both with all my heart." Cha Huan Wu suddenly thought, "This is easier than I expected. If I push myself a little more, I can move to floor F. Of course, I won't actually do that. There's nothing particularly useful on floor F to gather more karma. Floor E is almost the last place where I can gather a large amount. Moreover, that thing will appear here. The thing that will significantly boost my magical power. After that, I can complete the succession process. Once I kill the lizard man leader, I'll go kill that thing." On a strange night in the forest, when two moons were right next to each other, they were preparing more firewood to start a fire. Candy spoke up. "The monsters ahead are extremely dangerous. I think we should be cautious." Huan Wu thought to himself, "I need to speed up." Then he noticed something. Sha Huan Wu quietly observed Dolly. The boy was using his power to make the firewood burn with the help of insects. Once again, Huan Wu had to exclaim, "Impressive kid. You call them frame bugs. They self-ignite to defend themselves when facing enemies, or when you control them. Seems like you've got me quite surprised." Huan Wu thought to himself, "Is this considered magic?" The sky had started to lighten, and Huan Wu resumed fighting. This time, he was fighting a massive monster, resembling a lizard with green skin and a huge size. After a fierce battle, the group managed to take down many of them. Candy was surprised to see Huan Wu holding a knife and slicing open their heads. What else does he want to loot from them? Huan Wu's father gently hollowed out their eyes. The eyeballs of a lizard man are a very useful item for crafting certain goods. They are antiques named after a giant believed to have hundreds of arms and thousands of eyes. I need their eyes to create antiques, the eyes of Gaige. Dolly, surprised, asked, "Wait, this is..." Candy replied, "Yeah, it seems like a battle just took place here." Dolly looked at the monstrous footprints stained with blood. Huan Wu bent down to check the blood on the footprints and muttered, "It hasn't been long since that confrontation happened. 5 hours, maybe 6. The hidden fragments, literally, must be concealed. They are only valuable when hidden and play an important role in uplifting the player's spirit while encouraging them to acquire them so they don't fall behind." Dolly wondered, did these people succeed? That's right, the hidden fragments on the floor of the direction still never appear again in the same round once they've been found and collected by the player. There's also something else they want to acquire by using the crown. It's an essential element for two people who are scheming something quite big. Therefore, the intervention of other players isn't good news. Huan Wu's father responded, "There are traces leading inside, but no signs of anyone leaving. And it's clear that those who came here didn't find Hargan's hideout." Candy, hearing this, exclaimed, "What? What do you mean?" Huan Wu immediately pointed down at the trace. "Look here, the trace on the ground is very clear. It's the trace of something heavy being dragged across the ground. Perhaps it's the body of a player. I think the lizard men used the smell of resin to lure them here." Candy asked, "So what happened next?" No one knew what happened next. Monsters weren't always the prey. There were times when monsters became hunters, viewing players as their prey. For them, this place was home. They knew the advantageous geographic locations to ambush players. And of course, there would be traps lying around. This was certainly related to those traps. The more he listened, the angrier he became. Damn monsters, we should be more careful. Huan Wu's father suddenly thought that he was quite naive, yet he was able to remain calm in necessary situations like this. He turned to Dolly, who seemed very angry, deep in thought. Huan Wu looked over at Dolly, who was frowning. Dolly noticed that Huan Wu was looking at him, feeling a bit shy, and he raised his head to smile awkwardly. He raised his head to look at him, then gave an awkward smile, when suddenly Can's voice broke the uncomfortable atmosphere. "We haven't told you anything about this place, Have we? This place is called the Hargan Lair. Huan Wu mumbled, asking Candy again, Lair? But in truth, Huan Wu already knew exactly what it was. Up until now, I've been pretending not to know, so now I'll have to keep pretending. Besides, I want to know how much they know about the Hargan Lair and what plans they have in mind. Hearing Huan Wu's question, Ken immediately explained, Yes, do you remember the lizard man we dealt with on the way here? Hargan is one of its leaders, the head, a king. Well, Hargan is like that, and this is where Hargan resides. Huan Wu sighed. It seemed like Hargan was very powerful. Candy continued, Yeah, definitely, the two of us probably couldn't kill it. Huan Wu interjected, Even I, the game hacker. Candy hummed a few times, then said with a doubtful look, eyeing Huan Wu, I'm not sure about that, but it would still be very difficult. Besides, there's a female in this lair, and she's even stronger than the male. One thing's for sure, no matter how hard we try, the three of us can't kill both bosses. We'll die in vain. Ignoring Candy's words, Huan Wu quickly asked, So what's our plan? Candy furrowed her brow and looked straight at Kane, speaking with determination. Steal. Then, Candy clarified the plan further. The male is outside the cave, while the female is inside. While I deal with the male, you'll distract the female. After that, Dolly will take the crown off its head. Huan Wu quickly asked, What will they do after that? Candy said, We'll run away from here. As I said, the female is ridiculously strong. You can't kill it on your own. Huan Wu responded, showing that he understood what Candy was saying. In his heart, Huan Wu remembered his days on the battlefield in Nation CP. He had carried out his missions there, and this was no different from that. The only difference is that I used to be a soldier, simply following orders from my superiors, but now I'm like a mercenary, driven by money. Not long after, the three of them immediately set off and entered the battlefield. The monster guards at the gate saw them and shouted to alert their companions. There are humans here. The three of them immediately got into fighting stance, ready to battle any monster that charged at them. With a loud boom, the Hargan appeared, roaring in a threatening manner. Humans, how dare you enter my lair? You must die. You won't escape from me, boy. The system then displayed a hidden quest notification, including the information and rewards for this mission. In Section E, it listed 5 leaders who ruled the forest. Hargan was the leader of the lizardmen, the one who controlled the swamp in the north. The quest was to defeat all the chieftains and kill the leader of the lizardmen. The rewards were Hargan's crown, the blue scale scimitar, and the ownership of Hargan's lair. Hargan roared again. The roar was fierce and powerful, causing Huan Wu to recall the fear he felt when he first stepped onto the battlefield. The intense tension made his hand holding the knife sweat profusely. At that moment he thought to himself, this monster has terrifying strength, but now I'm strong enough. Then, Hargan suddenly locked eyes with Huan Wu, his gaze cold and filled with murderous intent. The monster shuddered, but quickly regained its composure, its eyes turning savage. It screamed and swung the sharp blade straight toward Huan Wu. Candy immediately charged to block the Hargan's blade, the clash resounding through the area. The Hargan glared at Candy, cursing. Human, get out of my way. You are nothing but a tiny pest. Candy sneered, responding confidently, I'm sorry, but I'm not the same as I was before. Infuriated by Candy's taunt, the Hargan swung its blade toward her. But fortunately, Candy managed to dodge. This only enraged the Hargan further, and it swung wildly, causing 2 lizardmen to fall. It screamed, Don't dodge. Face me. The lizardman behind, sweating with fear, cautiously spoke to the enraged male Hargan. Please, calm down, sir. Thanks to Candy drawing the Hargan's attention, Huan Wu and Dolly were able to smoothly advance deeper into the cave. Now their opponent was the female Hargan, a monster that Candy believed to be far stronger than the male. Inside the cave, there were many lizardmen on guard, but Huan Wu could swiftly take them down. After dispatching 2 guards, a voice suddenly rang out. That's a human. Looking to the side, Huan Wu saw human bones scattered across the ground. The Hargan's furious roar reminded Huan Wu of the fear he felt the first time he stepped onto the battlefield, the boiling tension causing his hand holding the blade to sweat profusely. Both of them suddenly looked around to see where the voice was coming from, and then they suddenly noticed a small prison inside Hargan's cave, where many people were being held. The people in the cells were overjoyed as if they had found treasure, rushing and shouting loudly to beg Dolly and Huyen-woo for help. "Save me, please. Please save me." Seeing the desperate people trying to cling to a fragile thread, Huyen-woo scanned the area and silently assessed the situation. The arms and legs were severed from the body, and the faces bore expressions that reflected the excruciating pain they had endured. Flesh and blood stains were scattered everywhere. It was a completely barbaric scene. Other prisoners were bound with chains and locked in cages like animals. Indeed, whether on Earth or here, everything was the same. Was there really any difference between how humans treated pigs, cows, and how they treated other humans? Many of the people in the iron cages were starting to lose their patience. They didn't hesitate to shout rude words at the two of them, which made Dolly even more confused. Huyen-woo turned to Dolly and reminded her, "Lizard men could show up at any time. I'll go look for it, so you should hide somewhere." Dolly lowered her head and spoke. "Hey, do you feel angry?" Seeing Dolly's face twisted in a way that looked like she was about to cry, Huyen-woo skeptically asked, "Angry?" Dolly immediately replied, "Yes, angry. How can you stay so calm when you see this?" Huyen-woo sighed in exasperation as he looked at Dolly, muttering to himself, "Right, this kid is just a tough little brat. Damn, let him handle it himself." Seeing that Huyen-woo said nothing, Dolly kept speaking. "You're a human too, a human who can't act like one. If they're not angry about this, then why are you so calm?" Huyen-woo interrupted Dolly. "But if we save them, Candy will be in danger." Upon hearing this, Dolly stopped, hesitating for a long time. Huyen-woo continued to explain. "Don't forget, Candy is still fighting Hargan outside. He can't hold on for long while fighting Hargan alone, and the longer we stay here, the more danger Candy will be in. Stay focused and think about what's most important. But if you still want to act on your own, I'll immediately abandon this mission. Both of you could die because of your emotions overtaking your reasoning." After saying that, Huyen-woo silently watched Dolly. Dolly was quiet for a long time before slapping himself hard. Staring firmly at Huyen-woo, he said, "I'm sorry, I was careless. Let's get back to the main task. Candy is still waiting for us outside." Suddenly, Huyen-woo realized something. "Wait, the reason Hargan is making a human farm is to breed their offspring. I should use that to our advantage." Huyen-woo immediately called out, "Wait." Dolly turned back and asked, "What's wrong?" Huyen-woo said, "I just came up with a good idea. Can we modify the plan a little? If things go well, we might even be able to save those people trapped here." At this point, Huyen-woo paused, looked at Dolly, and said, "I need you to use your skills, and I also need more fire to cook the eggs." Soon after, they advanced further into the cave. Along the way, the two of them killed many monsters. The monsters were utterly astonished, and before they could react, they were struck by Huyen-woo. The female monster quickly received news from the disciples. Enraged, it roared loudly, "My child, they must have come for my child." It then swiftly ordered its subordinates to protect its offspring at all costs. Even if they had to die, they must defend them. Meanwhile, it grabbed a huge mace and set off to find Huyen-woo. Over on this side, the image of the adorable baby monsters peacefully sleeping could be seen. Though they look cute now, once they grew up, they wouldn't be cute anymore. At this moment, Huyen-woo had already arrived in front of them. He called out to the female monster, "Hey, lizard man female." The female monster was stunned when it heard Huyen-woo call it. Huyen-woo stood opposite the lizardman female without a hint of fear, holding a bag in his hand. He raised the bag and swayed it in front of her, asking, "Do you like fireworks?" It seemed that the bag he was holding contained the explosives he had made last time. The female monster, seeing this, was shocked and shouted loudly, "What do you mean by this?" Before it could process what was happening, Huyen-woo threw the bag containing the explosives toward its children. Only then did the female monster react. In a panic, it screamed and rushed toward its offspring. "What are you doing?" It immediately dashed forward and crushed the bag of explosives. Suddenly, a sense of dread washed over it, as if it had just realized something was wrong. Huyen-woo silently thought to himself, that was the powder made from the monsters he had hunted down in the room of ice and fire. Immediately after, Huyen-woo called Dolly to signal him to use flame bugs on the monster. Dolly promptly used his flame bug skill, spraying fire toward the creature, transforming it into a glowing lizard man. The monster couldn't react in time and screamed in pain. Ah, these pests. After withstanding Dolly's attack, it suddenly realized that its offspring was in Huan-Wu's hands. He grabbed the neck of a baby monster, pressing a knife to its throat to use it as a hostage. Seeing this, the monster became enraged and shouted, "Ah, human, how dare you do this? I will kill you." Without hesitation, Huan-Wu released the baby monster and calmly said, "If you treat humans as pets, you should understand that the same thing can happen to you, right?" With that, he grabbed the neck of another red baby monster and pressed it against its throat, asking for a bit of blood. Seeing this, the mother monster charged forward, yelling, "Take your hands off of it, human!" Suddenly, the monster noticed something beneath its feet. It turned out that it had stepped on one of Huan-Wu's explosive devices. A loud explosion followed. The mother monster was obliterated, its body torn apart. Yet it still clutched its child tightly. At that moment, the system displayed a notification. "You have killed the boss Terrigan, the female lizard man leader. Karma bonus will be provided. The lizard man has lost its will." The monsters in Hargan's lair have entered a state of panic. Huan-Wu stood, looking at the monster with a somewhat pensive expression, then said, "Take the crown quickly. We need to hurry and join Candy outside. We don't have much time left. We need to get out of here fast." Dolly rushed over and replied hastily, "I understand." He trembled as he held up the crown, feeling an overwhelming sense of disbelief. He had finally obtained it. Just then, a loud scream echoed from outside. It turned out that the male monster had managed to enter. It was running and screaming loudly. "How did you get in here? Why did you kill them?" It shouted, "Terrigan, my children." But it's too late now. Candy, standing behind, was utterly shocked, unable to believe that such a powerful monster could be destroyed. The monster screamed in agony. "Why? Why? How could I be killed by such inferior humans?" At that moment, the monster was consumed by fury, and it seemed to be using some kind of power. Its body started to tremble. It turned out that it was using an absorption technique to absorb power from the female lizard man. Its body gradually grew larger, exuding an aura of terrifying, lethal power. Huan-Wu was astonished by the sight, then quickly warned Dolly and Candy to get away. The monster raised its sword high and slammed it into the ground. Instantly, a surge of power shot out, shaking the entire ground as stones and gravel flew into the air. Huan-Wu hid behind a rock, thinking to himself, "Its power can no longer be underestimated. A special skill. It will follow us no matter where we run, even if we hide underground. Moreover, its skills aren't something I can easily get past. We need to do something now. What should we do to take it down?" While he was thinking of a countermeasure, suddenly a butterfly emitting a green light flew in front of Huan-Wu. "Hey, can you hear me?" Huan-Wu asked in surprise. "Are you Dolly?" Dolly asked if he had come up with a plan to defeat the monster yet. Quickly, a plan formed in Huan-Wu's mind. He then asked Dolly to tell Candy about his plan. "Can you tell Candy about this plan? If you want, I can send it to him." "Good. Let's act on it quickly." Out there, the monster is still going crazy, screaming, "Humans, you scum, come out, you lowly beings." Huan-Wu hid behind a rock, then suddenly jumped out in front of the monster and waved his hand, taunting it. "Come here, kid." The monster saw this and charged toward him in a frenzy, shouting, "I'll finish you right here." At that moment, Huan-Wu used his asterisk dragon eyes asterisk skill to spot a gap in the monster's attack. Quickly, he identified the ideal spot in its strike. When the monster swung down, he used the small dagger in his hand to block its body. With just a small knife, he managed to find the weak point in his opponent's weapon, and before long, the large sword was cracked. He quickly used his strength to dodge to the side, causing the monster to veer off course, then swung his blade down hard onto the ground, catching it completely off guard. Waiting for the monster to gather all its strength and strike down with a powerful blow, Huan-Wu shouted loudly, "Doi can now!" Immediately, Candy rushed forward. He swung his sword and struck the monster with a powerful blow. It let out a pained scream. Seeing this, Dolly seized the opportunity quickly. He sent a swarm of insects toward the monster, causing an explosion that rocked it. It screamed, "You bastards!" Huan-Wu thought to himself. Thanks to the coordination of the three of them, the monster had been significantly weakened. Enraged, the monster roared, "How dare you do this to me? It won't be long before I send you all to hell. Seeing it lose control, Huinwu thought, if I make one wrong move now, it could be dangerous. The monster was becoming more frenzied, raising both hands with its massive blade, preparing to drive it down. Seeing this, Huinwu grabbed a dagger and charged forward. He struck hard, and the dagger clashed against the monster's blade with a loud, screeching sound. The monster screamed, "Lowly humans, you will die." At that moment, Candy seized the opportunity, rushing forward to slash at the monster's leg. It screamed again, "You bastards!" Dolly also commanded the insects to explode once more, causing the monster to panic. It let out a growl, "Huh!" Then it opened its mouth, gasping for air, revealing its sharp teeth. Panting, it said with exhaustion, "I will avenge Terrigan and my children." Huinwu silently thought to himself. This was the moment. He gripped the dagger tightly in his hand and quickly slashed it across the monster's groin, simultaneously stabbing it deeply. It let out a pained roar, "Aw!" before collapsing to its knees and falling to the ground. Seizing the opportunity, Huinwu circled behind, leaped onto its back, and placed his hand on its head. The monster, startled by the sudden movement, recoiled in shock. Huinwu immediately activated his skill. "Devour it, my hacking skill." The system displayed. Batory's vampiric dagger increased by 5.4%. Hargan's life force and energy are being drained. A fiery aura surrounded the monster. It screamed in agony, "I'll kill you. I'll kill all of you." Huinwu intensified his attacks, causing the flames to flare up even more. His mask, too, cracked under the pressure. Candy and Dolly stood outside, astonished. What's happening?" The monster continued to scream, "Nice try, but you won't survive for long. Terrigan, my children, I'm so sorry. I'm so useless." The system announced, "You have successfully defeated the boss monster Hargan. Additional karma has been granted. The Battery Bloodsucker Guild has successfully stolen power and gained certain skills from the target. You have learned the Living Heat skill." At that moment, the monster lay burnt to a crisp on the ground. Huinwu silently thought, is this an innate skill? And is it a power-enhancing skill? How should I test it? Suddenly, he felt dizzy, staggered, and couldn't stand still. Can and Dolly saw this and immediately shouted out, "Hey, Hung, are you all right, buddy?" Candy spoke while supporting him. "Did I also ran over? Hung, you should sit down for a moment. You don't look so good." Huinwu replied, "Don't worry too much, I'm fine. I'm just really tired, but it'll get better. Go ahead and rest, brother." That's right. Candy and Dolly each took one of Huinwu's hands, babbling to him, making him feel helpless. "Seriously, you two. You don't need to worry so much, I'm really fine. But there are still people over there. Go save them quickly. They might be in danger from the fire." Hearing this, they immediately went to rescue the others. They thanked him profusely. "Thank you so much." Sob, "Really? Thank you all so much. I want to thank everyone once again. Thank you, brother. Without you, we might have been dead by now. We've avenged our fallen comrades. As long as everyone is safe, that's what matters. By the way, you look a lot like someone I admire, Candy. Could you be?" "Oh, haha, I try to keep it a secret." Candy patted his head while laughing awkwardly. Dolly turned to look at her older brother with a sigh of exasperation. "Brother, don't you have any chain left?" "But unfortunately, I wasn't the one who took down Hargan, I only helped." Then, Candy pointed at Huinwu. "He's the one who defeated Hargan." When the two of them realized that Huinwu was the one who defeated Hargan, their expressions changed. They seemed quite angry, since earlier they had heard that Huinwu had no intention of saving them. When thinking back to the image of them being locked in the prison, Candy recalled the scene where he was standing, talking to Dolly, confirming exactly who the person wearing the mask was. When we were locked up in there, he was the one who abandoned us and left. Candy wondered, why? He's really despicable. We didn't want to get near him. Shut up, you idiots. Candy seemed very angry as she stepped closer to the man. What's the matter? The man asked, terrified. Don't let me hear that again. He's the one who figured out how to save you all, and he's the one who killed Hargan. Right now, he's badly injured. Otherwise, you'd still be locked up in that cage. Think carefully before you speak, you bastard. If you insult him again, I'm not sure you'll survive. After saying that, he trembled. He looked at the others, but they all turned away, not interested, not helping him. He lowered his head and muttered, "I'm really sorry." Candy responded, "I didn't hear you clearly. I said I'm sorry." Candy, still angry, said, "Go over there and say it to him." Huan Wu, sitting over there, heard it, and after a moment of thought, the distinction between the weak and the strong was clear at that moment. The man approached Huan Wu, lowered his head, and said, "I didn't think before I spoke. I was wrong. I'm truly sorry." Huan Wu remained silent and did not respond. The man, frustrated, cursed under his breath. This bastard. He ground his teeth in frustration. He had fallen into a trap set by the lizardmen. Otherwise, how could this have happened? Why hadn't anyone spoken up at the time? Suddenly, someone ran up and said, "My lord." He snapped angrily. "What?" The man lowered his head. "I'm sorry I couldn't help you, but we're still alive. Isn't that something to celebrate?" He growled, "I don't care. You'd better stay as far away from me as possible." The man quickly said, "Please, don't be like that, my lord. Hear me out. Don't you want more karma, tokens, or antiques?" He said with a surprised look. "Huh." The brown-haired man turned to look at Dolly and Candy, then said, "Aren't there many treasures here that you want?" Candy and Dolly were still talking, unaware that they had fallen under the watchful eyes of the evil men. He turned back and asked, "What do you mean?" The man replied, "What do I mean? We have to do this to survive. To survive, you want to kill the people who saved us?" He looked at the man, his voice harsh. "We won't kill anyone. How can we fight them? Fighting them is like self-destruction. Then those monsters took all our stuff, and now we don't have anything left on us. I mean, if we go out there now, we'll just die. Won't we?" The man lowered his voice. "So let's steal enough to survive on our own. Then we'll escape." The others anxiously asked, "What if we get caught? They'll kill us, won't they? We may die whether we steal antiques or not, but if we follow my way, the chances of survival will be higher." He then laughed maliciously. "Haha, one of my friends has a quick hand. He could take what we want. What do you think, my boss?" He immediately agreed. "Humph, let's do it. Move to the other side. Dolly and I will take Hargan's crown as promised. I think this is the time we need it. What do you think, Kane?" Huan Wu agreed. "All right, you can take it." Upon hearing this, Candy stepped closer and nudged him. "Thanks, bro. I knew you were a good guy. Stop kidding. You're such a shy guy." Then Candy said, "Dolly, go ahead and take it." Huan Wu cradled his sore arm where Candy had nudged him, thinking, "These fools. But really, they're all good people." He then turned to the side, looked at Candy, and spoke loudly. "Everything in here belongs to you, just like we promised." Blue Sword of Scales, classified as a two-handed weapon, a weapon favored by Hargan, also known as the Lizard King. The weapon is filled with fire elements, highly durable, and destroys everything it touches. However, its weight is quite large, making it immovable without enough muscle strength. Huan Wu thought to himself, "This weapon really isn't suitable for me at all." Blue Sword of Scales, classified as a two-handed weapon, has an evaluation for additional points, and is described as the favorite weapon of Hargan, also known as the Lizard King. The weapon is filled with fire elements, has high durability, and destroys anything it touches. However, the weapon's weight is quite heavy, so it cannot be moved without sufficient muscle strength. Huan Wu thought to himself, "This weapon really doesn't suit me at all. Karshina's dagger, at least there's something useful among them." The weapon's damage will increase depending on the player's proficiency. Huan Wu held the dagger in his hand, thinking, "Even though they're junk, with a large quantity, I can still sell them for a high price." Blue Sword of Scales, classified as a two-handed weapon, has an evaluation for additional points, and is described as the favorite weapon of Hargan, also known as the Lizard King. The weapon is filled with fire elements, has high durability, and destroys anything it touches. However, the weapon's weight is quite heavy, so it cannot be moved without sufficient muscle strength. Huan Wu thought to himself, "This weapon really doesn't suit me at all." Suddenly, a voice sounded, "You'll get a sore neck if you keep staring at me like that." Both of them looked up at the glowing vortex on the cave ceiling. From the vortex came a voice. "Oh, you saw me? I was about to surprise you, my friend. What a strange player you are." A cloaked figure poked their head out. "Hello, I've come to visit." Dolly asked, "Do you know that mysterious merchant?" Huan Wu replied, "A little." The merchant complained, "Hey, brother, You're disappointing me. We're close, and yet you've forgotten so quickly. Oh, and it's also great to see you two again, Candy and Dolly. The last time we met was probably when we bought tickets through another floor, right? Candy mumbled, uh-huh. Candy thought to herself, remembering the ticket purchased through floors with points, feeling really irritated. Making friends with the mysterious merchant was simple. You just had to be in the top 10 strongest players, or get his acknowledgement. It seemed like he was one of those who had been recognized. The merchant spoke up, by the way, would you mind sharing how you managed to spot me? I was pretty confident in my hiding skills. Huang Wu replied, it would be stupid of me not to notice you while you're staring at me like that. I get it now, you won't say a word. Huang Wu then said, for ownership of this hideout, I'll pay 150 tokens. Oh my, you're bargaining with me too. You know, even the top players don't get anything from that mysterious merchant. After that, Huang Wu said 160 tokens. The merchant responded, impossible. Huang Wu said 180. The merchant replied, too expensive. Huang Wu, undeterred, raised the price again, 200. The merchant said, you think you can sell it to us for that price? 300. If you don't buy, I'll blow up the hideout, and I bet there are plenty of magic stones here, huh? Huang Wu continued, these magic stones seem like something a merchant like you really needs. Huh? The mysterious merchant responded, magic stones seem pretty easy to find here, and I don't think you can get stones purer than 70. I guess I'll have to blow everything up. The mysterious merchant could only remain silent in response to Huang Wu's words. Huang Wu knew well that the magic stones were a basic means of storing and supplying mana. They acted like conductors of electricity on Earth. Stones with higher purity were sold for a higher price. That was why the mysterious merchants were all interested in the lair of Hargan. Of course, I could mine them myself, but the higher the purity, the more complicated the mining process became. The harder something is to obtain, the more valuable it becomes. This is the law of the world. My younger brother also found this pointless after learning the secret. The mysterious merchant spoke up. Hemph. However, 300 tokens is too expensive for Huang Wu to rise again. Price. 400. He thought to himself that if he liked, he could choose not to sell, but in reality, he needed time to gather more tokens. The mysterious merchant, flustered, said, all right, fine. Stop. I'll pay. Don't raise the price anymore. I don't want to see my trust shattered further. Huang Wu replied, good, I'll sell it for 405 tokens. 5 tokens for the time I've wasted. The mysterious merchant lowered his head in dismay, saying, this is the first time I've been robbed like this. The system then announced, you have sold the blue sword of scales and the ownership of Hargan's lair. You have received 405 tokens, totaling 698 tokens. The merchant could only sulk in a corner. Nothing left. I've been deceived. Both Candy and Dolly were left speechless upon witnessing this scene. Suddenly, Huang Wu turned to speak to the merchant. Oh, and one more thing. The merchant was terrified. What more do you want from me? It seems I may have bullied you a bit too much. Anyway, I do have something to buy. I had forgotten about this. The merchant thought you would buy something valuable, and his face lit up as he said, haha, what is it? Huang Wu pointed to his mask and said, you see, it's been destroyed. I need something similar. Upon hearing this, the merchant's expression immediately changed. Ah, I had something like that. It will cost you 4 status points. Huang Wu replied without hesitation, of course. The merchant said, can't you be a little gentler? Huang Wu replied, it's not that important to me. Candy helplessly gave up on these two. The merchant was furious, his hatred burning fiercely, but he still couldn't do anything to Huang Wu. Humph. How about I give you a special mask instead of a regular one? And if you bully me again next time, I won't play with you anymore. The merchant snapped his fingers, and a mask appeared. It was called Asterisk Ghost White Face Asterisk. With an E+ rating, it was a mask containing many spirits. Using it created a strange atmosphere, allowing the wearer to conceal their presence easily. It could also be removed and replaced with another spirit when broken. Taking advantage of the moment when the 3 of them weren't paying attention, Huang Wu turned his face away to put on the new mask. He wore it and touched it. Oh, I really like this mask. A self-healing mask is perfect for me. Thank you so much. The merchant responded, no problem, it's my job, and then prepared to leave. Suddenly, he stopped. By the way, when you priced the magic stone, it seemed like you knew something. Did you find out what's happening inside here? Huang Wu replied, on the other side, what do you mean by that? Himph. Well, never mind, I must have been mistaken. The merchant said this, and immediately left. The magic stones were essential materials for crafting high-level items, and their quantity was very limited. However, they were being sold at exorbitant prices, yet the merchant still purchased them. This meant that there was a high demand for these magic stones for crafting, while the number of players remained fixed. Therefore, there could only be one reason for this. The only reason to mass-produce weapons was that a bloody war seemed to be about to break out. They might form temporary alliances, but peace would not last among this pack of wolves. At that moment, Candy spoke up and asked, "What will you do next?" "What will I do?" Candy replied, "I want to know about your next schedule. What's your plan? Are you going to gather enough tokens to advance to the next floor? First, we should check the current rankings. My ranking has changed drastically. There's something even more important I need to do, which is to defeat the next boss. I need its power to keep progressing, and I have to reach it as quickly as possible." Huang Wu said, "I'm planning to enter the next floor." Candy then responded, "Well, do you want to? But I still have something I need to take care of." "Private business?" Candy wondered. "Yes," she said. "Huang Wu, would you like to join my team?" Huang Wu replied, "I'll join you guys." Huang Wu asked, "Just the two of you?" "Actually, Candy and I have talked about this many times. We really get along well. Maybe the three of us should team up. I believe we'll become the strongest team." Dolly said excitedly, "I hope you'll join my team." After hearing this, Huang Wu shook his head and declined, "No, I can't." Dolly was confused upon hearing this, wanting to know why Huang Wu didn't want to join her team. Huang Wu explained, "As I mentioned before, I still have things to do, but I can join you after I'm done. The reason I don't like forming a team is because I don't feel comfortable with being tied down." Upon hearing this, Dolly responded dejectedly, "I see. I understand now." Candy, who had been standing behind, gently patted Dolly on the shoulder. "We can't force him, kid. Everyone has their own preferences, and this sort of thing will happen often when we enter the tower, so cheer up, all right?" Then Candy turned to Huang Wu and asked, "Anyway, you'll stay with us until we get out of here, right?" Huang Wu nodded slightly. "Let's head out then. Everyone is waiting outside." As Huang Wu walked, he thought to himself, "This northern swamp is vast. It could take a long time to get out of here. There are still many lizard gods lurking around, so maybe it's better to stick with them. The other players are hiding behind. If they separate from here, they will die. Candy and Dolly have no choice but to follow them, and it's not comfortable at all." Suddenly, Huang Wu turned around and asked Candy, "What will you do with those people now?" Candy replied, "Maybe I'll protect them and help them escape this swamp." Huang Wu continued, "It's not your duty to keep them safe. Hey, I have a human heart. How could I leave them here?" Candy replied. Huang Wu felt something strange about these people. Their attitude was too unusual, and there were many monsters here, so he didn't want to stay any longer. Suddenly, a man approached and asked him, "Could you give me some food?" Huang Wu also noticed something else. Dolly was being too kind to them. Dolly immediately took some food and handed it to the man. "Here, take some food." "Thank you." The man thought to himself, "Haha, this was easier than I thought. This kid really trusts people." It turned out the man was a petty thief. Huang Wu observed and thought, "I'm sure my instincts are right. I need to keep an eye on these guys." Scene changes. After getting the food, the petty thief went over to the handsome brown-haired guy. "Here's the food. I got it from the kid. It went well." He then smiled slyly. "The plan seems to be progressing quite well. If they discover us, they will kill this guy first, and I'll remain safe as usual. But if I can take down the one ranked 3rd and 11th, and the one who already killed the Lizard King, I could take the first position. A perfectly flawless plan. Haha, a dream I've longed for." He then turned to look at Huang Wu, thinking to himself, "Sometimes, I feel like under that white mask, those cold eyes are watching me. It's unsettling. Eyes that seem to see through everything. Could there be a power hidden there that I haven't anticipated?" Another man approached, and Dolly said, "Candy, my friend is feeling unwell. Can we slow down a bit?" "We're all very tired," they all said in unison. Then the group started to make noise. "I won't move anymore. I can't. I have nothing with me." If I keep going, we'll just be monster food. If that's the case, I might as well stay here all day. Candy sighed in annoyance, thinking to herself, what a troublesome bunch. The brown-haired man immediately thought about it. Someone stepped forward and said, actually, I think being locked up for so long has made them mentally exhausted. I know you guys are busy, but I think this place is a good spot to rest for a while. The guy thought to himself, all right, I've got a lot of friends waiting to show up. It's not just a few people in the open field. It's a whole squad of dozens, ready to welcome these guys. Heh. He thought and laughed. It would be over soon. Suddenly, he felt like someone was watching him. He glanced to the side and saw Huan-Wu standing next to him. He didn't even realize when he had gotten there. Huan-Wu's cold eyes were staring straight at him. A scream rang out. Ah! Candy and Dolly turned around in shock. Everyone froze when they saw Huan-Wu kill the guy. They exclaimed, what the hell? Then Huan-Wu immediately turned in another direction, looking so innocent, a bunch of fools. It seemed like they realized Huan-Wu had discovered their plan, and they shouted, how did he? Damn it! Huan-Wu charged toward them, finishing off the guy in front with lightning speed. I shouldn't have killed these guys from the start. Throughout this journey, he's been keeping an eye on both of them. His attitude and actions made me even more suspicious. I knew I should have followed him from behind, then used my enhanced senses to watch for anything unusual. That's when I realized there was a group of players preparing for an ambush in the open field not far away. They must have contacted each other, and these bastards are after the items we have. I need to take care of them as quickly as possible. With that thought, Huan-Wu charged after them at full speed. Candy, not understanding what was going on, ran to stop him. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Huan-Wu said, Dong, stop acting like an idiot and look around. What are you even talking about? If you don't understand what's going on, then shut up and get out of my way. At that moment, Candy suddenly realized the silence and looked around. They had gathered in large numbers and had completely surrounded the three of them. Candy exclaimed, I didn't expect anything like this. Damn it, there are so many of them. They've surrounded all three of us. They all have weapons in hand and are pointing them directly at us. The leader suddenly said, what's going on? Isn't it just about stealing their stuff? You think it's going to be that simple? Are you that dumb? Before they could finish their sentence, he gave them a one-way ticket to meet their ancestors. Too much trouble, get lost. Candy thought to herself, who are these people? Bandits? Huan-Wu immediately charged forward. They must be the original owners of the camp. It's not just a band of thieves. Some of them have teamed up with monsters. These guys pretend to be injured and ask nearby players for help to lure them into a trap. Once they succeed, they feed the players to the monsters and take their items in tokens. The original players must have gotten trapped in the camp, probably killed. Elsewhere, in a forest, a voice rang out. If we can catch them, they'll be the biggest catch we've ever made. Except for Fant and Adora. Those crazy idiots would love to wipe out such strong players, not to mention the stuff they're carrying. That blood sword Candy is holding. That's the Dragon Slayer sword, right? That's mine. What the hell? I pre-ordered it. You idiot. The person who just replied is Zip Zen. He is talking to his teammates through the Jade pendant. The person named Noin replied, no matter what you say, whoever sees it first, keeps it. Shubai, seeing the two of them fighting over the item, said, both of you, shut up. The captain will handle the distribution. Everyone will get their share. Let's talk about something useful, like how to get the reward from the Lizard King. Damn it, I've wasted too much time. Zip Zen, help me contact him. Shubai spoke, but there was no reply from the other end. Zip Zen, where are you? Noin, is Zip Zen there? You go ahead and contact him. It seems like he's been killed by someone. The communication pendant still echoed Shubai's call. Noin. Shubai realized something was wrong. Does this mean we're under attack? Panicking, Shubai jumped up. Had they discovered them? He anxiously looked around. After all, he was ranked 15th, so then, he angrily shouted, who are you? Come out now, or I'll kill you. Everything around him was silent. No one responded. He feared, thinking, this is so damn troublesome. Where is he? What is this feeling? Suddenly, he was horrified as he looked to the side. Noin had been brutally murdered and was standing in front of him. His mouth was still trying to mumble, run, saying that he collapsed towards Shubai. The one who killed him was none other than Huinwu. Suddenly, Huinwu appeared right behind Shubai without making a sound. Shubai felt a chill run down his spine, glanced over, but before he could react, Huinwu made him die. On this side, the group was still surrounding Candy and Dolly. Candy thought to herself, are these the orangutan? What are they doing? When did they become like this? Suddenly, the man in front of Candy was stabbed and fell to the ground. It was Huinwu who had killed him. Candy stood there, still unable to grasp what was happening. What's going on? Candy asked. Huinwu didn't say a word, immediately charging toward them. He struck relentlessly, quickly killing half of the group. They screamed for mercy. I surrender. Please spare me. Don't kill me. Dolly also commanded the swarm of insects. Candy joined in the fight. In no time, the entire group was wiped out, leaving only 6 people left begging for their lives. We had to follow Shubei's orders. Please, believe us. They were trying to gamble on Candy and Dolly's mercy. Based on this, they thought Candy and Dolly might spare them.